the SM Media Podcast Network. Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of SM Media's Countdown to Cheltenham 2026, and this is our bumper Cheltenham preview show. I'm Scott McPike. It is always a delight to be your host as always, and my co-host as always from the Scottish Daily Mail. It is a pleasure to welcome Callum McClurkin. Callum, we are nearly there. We're at the preview night stage. How are we?
Yeah, all good. Yeah. And preview night, full swing of it. Plenty of them about. Some more useful than others, but hopefully we're in the former category there. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Got a decks as well for confirmations for the first day. That's kind of put the picture from dirty to cloudy, if anything, really. So yeah, there's still a lot to decipher, and it's this kind of time where kind of the most minor setbacks would rule you out now. So it's a dangerous time for all concerned.
It is, and we're at the stage of proceedings where I think I'm going to go on record and say this is probably the most difficult Cheltenham Festival I can remember in, I would certainly say the least, maybe the 5-6 years. I can't remember a festival where as many races are open. There's been races where back in the day you've had 9 or 10 odds on shots and you've just been trying to kind of see if you take them on or not. It's not the case this year. There's a couple, but a lot of the races are very, very open.
Absolutely, yeah. 9 winning favourites last year. There's quite a lot of odds-on ones that get beat, though, and particularly early on. So, yeah, I think it's kind of a bit of an old-fashioned one in terms of maybe like a decade ago, where it's more open. I think certain races will be more contested. There are weak links and weak holes in them. It's got to be said. The quality's still diluted a fair bit. But, I think with a lot of Irish form, particularly done in heavy ground, I think there's a lot of kind of question marks over. You're getting usual suspects of what's Willie Mullins' top novices, etc. So yeah, and there's certainly a lot of the novice races. I think you could chuck a blanket over most of them.
Yeah, and in terms of kind of storylines, like there's been a lot over the past few years. Like last year, I don't think Ed will beat the Michael O'Sullivan Marine National Jazzy Matty double. We've had obviously Honeysuckle winning in the past. The year of obviously Henry de Bromhead. A lot of magnificent stories at Cheltenham. Mm-hmm. What this year would be the big story if it happened?
I still think it boils down to kind of your old Warriors really going back. I think if Galloping to Chant won another Gold Cup, I think it'd be marvellous. I think it's the first year that Dan Skelton's get kind of bodified Grade 1 chances. I think he's got a chance of making a name for himself and really kind of winning the big races at Cheltenham more consistently. Might be a little tied towards the English horses a little bit. I think they might get a bit closer. I think even Constitution Hill not being there, Nicky Henderson's got a lot of kind of good chances. Talking about throwback festivals. I mean, particularly the first day. Willie Mullins has got kind of really kind of good options there. Nicky Henderson's kind of back with a lot of kind of big chances in the big races. So yes, there's definitely plenty of kind of strands where it could go. I mean, I think GP McManus could have an all-timer. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would not be surprised if he won double figures in this meeting. Really, I mean, he's got plethora of chances across the board. The top races, novice races, handicap plots. There's plenty of them about there. I think he's got tons. So it's kind of who's going to be in who as well. Some conditionals might break through. The likes of Michael Keneally's been highly touted as one to follow. Gordon Elliott's resurgence coming back, can he maintain that into Cheltenham? He was very emotional last year. We only got one winner, Wood Who, in the Lucky Lass and the Martin Pipe. You'd expect him to do a bit better this year. There's also a lot of emotion around Henry de Bromhead as well. Given what's happened in the past with his association with Honeysuckle, the Triple Crown that he had, his son tragically losing his life just before it as well, and had the Mayor's Novices named after him as well for 1 year. So there's a lot of emotion there, and it's Cheltenham that brings it to the surface, because that it's a jumping Olympics. It's horse races, jump Olympics, and it's what matters the most. What you want to do is have winners there.
Yeah, and let's try and find some. So what we're going to do is we're going to preview the graded races at the festival. We're going to go through each day. So we get obviously 3 in the first day, 4 in the second day. We've then got 5 in the Thursday and 4 in the Friday that we'll cover. We'll cover in depth those big races. And then at the end of each day, we'll obviously talk about the handicap. So after the Champion Hurdle, we'll talk about the other handicaps, the rest of the races in each day and thereafter. But we are going to start, as always, with the Supreme Novices Hurdle, and it looks an absolute storming race when you actually look at it here. Providing these all go again, still up in the air with certain horses possibly going to the turners, but we'll go by the prices we have here at the moment. All Part Star for Nicky Henderson 2-1, Talk the Talk 11-2, Mighty Park 13-2, El Cairo 7-1, My Daddy Paddy 10-1, and 14-1 bar. Likes of Idaho Sun, Leader Dalier, King Rascal Grey, Baron Nor. There's horses in there, Callum. Before we get into to talk about certain horses, one of the best Supremes in paper I think I've seen for a long time.
Yeah, there's depth. I think a lot are going to hold their ground. I mean, 20 at the moment. I think you're probably going to get maybe 14 staying. So I think if you like anything here, I think it's going to be ultra competitive. And like a lot of these races, wait until the day because you're going to get better terms, better offers, better prices, and pretty much the whole field, really. So whatever you do fancy, I think you'd play it as late as possible. It's a cracking race. The favourite's obvious place to be, and I think he's the obvious winner. To be honest, I think it's different league to these. I really do.
Okay.
I think this horse is top class. Yeah, I think he could. I think he could be really good. Yeah, he's not been quite talked about in the mould of maybe Nicky Henderson's past winners. But if you take out Jericho de Reperie in the Supreme, Nicky Henderson's last 2 runners were Constitution Hill and John Bon in this race. Then after that, it was Shishkin. So basically, 1-2-1.
Altior Shishkin. Yeah, Altior Shishkin.
Altior of 2016. But even in that race where Shishkin was, he had the 3rd in Chantry House and he had the 5th in All Art.
Yes.
And that was a kind of 14, 15 runner affair.
And he had the 3rd with Boover there, the year Altior won.
He's invariably up there, really, with any kind of horse he runs in this. So, and he's had a wonderful prep. Okay, the form's largely untested in behind. You could poke holes in it, but visually he looks superb. He was the first novice that took my eye out the day that he won 2 starts ago. He was also impressive. He stepped up in that again. He's got course and distance form. I just think he's kind of a horse that's kind of got it all, and he looks very professional, and that's what you want in the first race of the week. I fully expect him to go out in price as well. Shishkin went out to 6-1. He was kind of he was 72-41 for a long way, and then he went out to 11-2 and 6-1, where he fended off Abacadabra. There was depth in that race in behind as well. He got up. I just think he's the most solid all round. I think he'll get burnt on the day. I think he'll win.
I think he's the one to beat. Yeah, I think he's, as you say, I think people are trying to kind of poke holes in his form. The problem is, though, is that, and we'll maybe talk about this in other races, particularly novices in Britain, when they say they don't beat much, it's because I think they're so impressive that maybe comes true. Like, No Drama That Sends maybe another example. They're beating these horses comfortably, and they just look at different leagues.
He hits the line so hard, and he does everything right. Okay, and even when he meets one wrong, he's quick, he's clever at it. You just, to me, is all-round attributes. And look at the Irish form. Your best Irish form's at Grade 1 at DRF, and 3 of them finish in a line. And I think that's kind of sketchy enough and completely contrasting ground with what they're going to get here. You could argue that they had a hard race, and Talk to Talk had to learn a lot there. There's maybe a bit of a jump, and they came back, did well to pull out the fire, was probably definitely worthy more of being was the winner, but probably was value for more. He's classy. He does have a gear or two, but if you miss a beat here, I think Old Park Styles is going to be there. And I just think he's so uncomplicated. He can go from the front. He can just race in behind. I don't think the tactical setup of the race would bother him. And I think he's a kind of horse that could kind of get out of trouble in the way that Shishkin can, and even Marine Nationale kind of did. I just think he's the more forward professional, and I think there's a lot in between the ears as well. I just think he could do this. I don't think they'll steam into him. I think he'll go off narrow favourite, but I think there's so many each way players in behind that people just nibble away at them, and I think you'd get a lot better on the day about the favourite. I quite like him.
I think talk to talk. I mean, there's obviously talk in the exchanges. He's going Turners. Joseph has said Supreme's the likely option, but again, so many question marks. Mighty
Yeah,
Park. I'm not sure. I'm not sure this is the plan. I mean, Willie Mullins doesn't have what he usually has, which is a number one. This is the one to go on. Mighty Park. Obviously, the hype is there. I think. I think if Willie Mullins thinks the world of Mighty Park, he would go. He would go Turners.
yeah, I think this is kind of most important disclaimer. There's a lot of switcheroos here and late
Yeah.
calls that are going to be made, and I think what they need to do is it's ultimately for punters, it's your money and your opinion. You've got to make up your own mind about what you would do with this horse beforehand. You know, even what Willie Mullins is going to do and monitor the exchanges. To me, Mighty Park is a Turner's horse, not a Supreme horse. But he's also been backed off the balls for both and getting very short on the back of, you know, one run that looked the part, really. So again, he's been compared to Fokine in parts. You know, he's definitely been the talking horse of it, and you either believe it or you don't. And at the prices, I think I can safely ignore him in this. I will not be backing him in this.
I think I'm backing for this either.
Turner's possible here, no. There's plenty of others to note here. I mean, El Kairos, for instance, might be the fastest horse in the race. Come speed real fast and late, but again, at the top level, he's not really done a lot. So you're kind of basically he's coming off one completion of a maiden, and that's not suitable. And he can do the odd thing wrong. And he did that in his bumper where he was kind of untractable. Really, a lot of people blame the old jockey for that and stuff. But there's still quirks there when he jumps the last, and you can see him kind of running across maybe half the track here.
I think he could be in a position where you're looking two out, maybe similar to Abacadabras, where you look two out to the.
When he get outpointed by Chishkin at the end,
he's the one
something like that where
what can he find in a finish?
Deliver him late up the hill. Another one that's going to be ridden like that is My Daddy Paddy.
Yes.
With a big field, you're going to get it ridden like that. But again, what he found off the bridle against Idaho Sun, even accounting for feints.
Is he going to overlook Idaho Sun?
Was it good? Slightly. He's unbeaten 3 for 3. Harry Fry can map them out for these kind of races. I think you might prefer softer ground. I think that's maybe a kind of slight question mark against him. And is he just a kind of solid each way yardstick? Does he have the class to win? I don't think he's in the league of the favourite. I don't think a lot of these are. You like Leader Dally each way. I can see why. I mean that'll be the Mullins horse now. You'd think by kind of maybe default if Mighty Park doesn't go here. Again though, maiden into here is not going to be easy. And Sober Glory's kind of the solid one that's done a lot, got a lot of experience in the bank, but his blowout was up in grade where he kind of just totally sank without a trace. So
who beat him that day? Who was the winner that day? He blew out.
It's Hurricane Pat.
And how many lengths did Hobart Star beat Hurricane Pat?
Yeah, but again, you could argue that Hurricane Pat didn't turn up that day either. So
there's
different strands of form here that we won't really get a handle on, and that strands of form here that'll have impact going into the Turners. So I think Sober's interesting. I think he's got a bigger run in him. I would go here with him than that. I prefer King Rascal Grey in a Turners. And the rest, I think I've got plenty to kind of find and probably won't run. So it's a nice open race. Ballyfad, I think, jumps a bit right. I think he might fling his chance away. I think he's kind of in the solid each way profile rather than a genuine bona fide win contender. But I've got the favourite £6 clear. I think he's got room to improve for more. I think the Irish form is questionable, and I think he'll take this out. And the only thing about like all your multis and going strong is it's the first race of the day and you're kind of apprehensive about it. But I really do think he will win this.
And Nicky Henderson, when he has one to throw at this race in recent years, they've tended to win.
Well, that's the back catalogue. The last one.
Yeah.
You take Jericho Durepany where his horses were wrong the year. The last horse he ran in this was Constitution Hill, who beat John Bon, who was his. They're not that category. They might not need to be because I don't see kind of where's your kind of appreciate it here, where's your Kopek de Boers here. That form is not at that level. So I mean, if somebody won this by 6-8 lengths, it would be him. Simple as that. If somebody annihilates him, he's the one that's going to annihilate them. The rest are going to win maybe fairly impressively, but they're not going to win like in a superstar. And I think he could be. He doesn't, maybe because the kind of Nichols background and the way the bumpers, and he's not an obvious one in terms of being sourced out. And the active innocence that he couldn't split, he doesn't show a lot at home, and maybe that's why he's kind of maybe a bit of a doubt in terms of, and he does it with kind of fancy owner colours really that people latch onto. But I do think he's to me he's been an outstanding novice of the season by some way, and I hope he goes and justifies it. Simple as that.
So I'm with you in Old Part Star. I think he is the one who can take this out. El Kairos, I think, will be travelling best to 2 out, but I'm just not sure what he's going to do 2 out to the line. My Daddy Paddy, I think, will get a better run of the race. I think Leader Dali will be up close to the pace. The thing is, as well, just the way that race kind of went at Christmas, I just think a lot of Willies weren't firing that time of the year. He came on well for the run at Punchestown. I think the fact that they put him in that maiden that Copet de Board won the year before suggests that he was high on the Supreme list, and I think he probably will talk the talk. I think needs further. Jumping would be a slight concern. I just think Old Part Star is going to win this, and I think Leader Dali will be the Mullins horse that gets. Remember the old Mullins horse that just gets an each way place when they're not entitled. Diverge, Shane's Hill last year.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Revenant might have been that this year. He was pulled out because he was lame yesterday. So that was a bit of a shame, because I think it would have been a good chance Harry Cobden. But again, it's hard to latch on to the one each way when we don't really know what his kind of main ones are running, whether they're here in the tunnels. I'd have a fair idea where to go, and I think that's the only way you can do it. Really, is base it on your assertion of things. I think there might be a big effort in Sober. He could do it, but again, I think jumping maybe would be a bit difficult here with the pace he might go. But if he gets a hang of it early on, he could keep an eye on the Mullins ones in running, see who kind of takes it the best early doors, and think that they could maybe have an each way play there. But to me, I think it's all about the favourite. To me, I think he'll win. I think he's very good.
I think Old Part Star wins, and I'll maybe on each way play. Well, we've got a post on Leader Dali. One at a wild price just before we move into the Arkle that I could see maybe dropping back in Trip, who maybe didn't run his race last time out. St. Bacco, I think, could be an each way play if they go here. You can see him. Don't know if he's maybe grade 1 level, but it was certainly they had confidence in him in the Lawlers and Ace, and I just don't think that suited him at all. And I could see him if he comes back in Trip, maybe running well.
Seen colours as Leader Dali, would they bother?
I don't know. I wouldn't fancy St. Bacco going up in Trip like he didn't. I didn't think he liked it at all last time.
I highly doubt he'll be good enough. Personally.
Okay. Well, let's move into the Arkle Challenge Trophy at 2:00 on the Tuesday, and it's another storming race. And the market has changed quite a bit since we last spoke about this race. Now, Copet de Board is now 7-4 favourite. Lalamba 2-1, Kyrgyz and Romeo Coolio kind of 6-1, 7-1, and you've got outsiders like the Irish Panther, Steel Ally, Jacks Junior. There's horses in here, Callum. My thoughts is it's between the top two, and it's just whatever you fancy on the day. And I don't know. I was very confident Lalamba coming in, but I think the market moves for Copet de Board are telling a story, to be honest.
No, I'm in the Lamba camp still. I think he's a better horse. I think he's got the more experience in the bank. I think he's done more. And I think experience can count. It's a bit slow to start in Newbury. I think that was open form, and I think that can be underrated in novice context. I think he would have learnt a lot that day. I think he kind of gets stuck in the ground a little bit, like all classy horses do, but then the way he kind of snapped back in the bridle and the way he finishes his races is just wonderful. I think there'll be kind of a bit when Shishkin won it, he had to kind of bumped along down the hill a little bit to kind of stay up. This fella might do the same, but he'll finish off like a train. And if Django Bay can run them down, and now this is a better Arkle, but if Django Bay can run them down, he'll do that and then some. The 5-year-old thing is a doubt, inexperienced, but he looks a more clever, more nimble jumper at this stage of his career than Marsbury does.
Can you make the argument, though, that Lalamba is far more experienced at this stage in his career than Copet de Board?
Yes, because he's only had kind of one go at it, really, hasn't he? Over fences, Lalamba's had 4. He's won them all with varying degrees of difficulty and success, and different ways of doing it, and different ways of racing. And, if things go wrong in a race, which he can do, I think he'll be the one that's better to equip to handle it. And it's potential and speed over experience, really. And I prefer the experience in the Arkle. I know we saw kind of El Fabiolo blitz John Bon and kind of head to heads like this before. But I do think Lamba's equally as special as Kopek de Board going forward, just in different ways.
Yeah,
I think I think Lamba's I think Kopek de Boer's obviously the most explosive one, speed and visually, and like and when his peak performance would probably be awesome. Um, Lalamba I think's more kind of compact, solid, maybe more reliable, but you wouldn't underestimate his class, and he isn't slow.
no, he's
He
not.
might look at it occasionally, but he's clever. You know, he always lands jumping. And if he handles the early skirmishes, which I think he will after his last day, because he'll learn from it. He's a good learner. I think he'll be fine, and I think if he just hangs on in there and tracks him, I think he'll win, because I can see Kopek. There's as much a chance of Kopek the board winning this really well as him blowing out. He's had one run back. He's obviously had his issues. Yeah, he's schooled well. Yeah, but I mean, they're going to say that if they're on track. We heard this in Irish Arkle. There was no reason to suggest he wasn't going to turn up,
Mm-hmm.
and for some reason he didn't. I've said before that it wouldn't surprise me if. I mean, I hope they all get there. Let's be honest, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's a late defection at some point. I've seen it before, particularly in 2 mile chases. So I just think I've just always been slightly in Lamba's corner, and the late market moves. The liquidity in Betfair to me is immaterial. I think there's so much social media nonsense about it that this gets moved slightly. I mean, we had Old School Outlaw today. It's absolute garbage. This has been moved for pennies. So try and can stick to your own. If there's so many moving parts here, try and at least establish your own kind of general opinion in a race, and then go from there. And mine is Lamba's achieved more, and I don't think he's slow, and I think his experience might edge it. And I think he'll outstay him up the hill. And Kopek de Board could belt one, could blow out. And because he's jumping, if you look at his debut, he is brave and bold, but Jesus, that second last comes at you quick. And if he's hearing and tearing it to it, your heart's going to skip a beat a little bit. I think, he could be brilliant, he could be good, and everything will be fine and dandy. But I think you're backing him now at a price where you have to think that he's 100% bona fide ready, absolute star to defy kind of his inexperience here against good horses in behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it is just a case of, is Kopek the board going to go win after run, or is Alama going to break the 5-year-old run? And the 5-year-old thing's been kind of played up a little bit, but I can't remember many 5-year-olds
Of that
going close in
caliber.
this. Masborough last year, the only one I can remember off the top of
Fakir
my
the
head is
Derry was
Fakir
second as
Duderee,
well,
and
and
he get beat by a mare
he's
who was.
and he's a better horse than Fakir the Derry.
I think he is. I don't think the Irish Arkle form's going to hold up here. I think it was too hard a race. Romeo Coolio especially, I don't think the trainer wants to go here. I think he's had too many hard races anyway. And I don't think there's much else can get close. Even if you're getting 3 places, I think it's either Kopek de Board or Lalamba, and you're playing with one place. And do you want to do that at this point? I think I'm 60-40 Lalamba. I think I'm 60-40 Lalamba. I'm just keen to see if what Lalamba does at the kind of first mile of the race, because I think that will determine where he's at. I just can see a world where he's slightly outpaced if Kopek the board's on song. But that's what I thought when we watched the beginners chases. They had the beginners chases the same day, and my first thought was I think Kopek the board would outpace him. But so much has changed since then, and Lalamba has just got more experience, just more fine. I thought what he did in the race, the game spirit, I thought was impressive when he got himself out of trouble, wrong part of the course, and I think just this race, just at the moment, I think I'm slightly in the Lalamba camp at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's more trouble. You've got to remember, Kopek the Board blew out punches down for no
Nah.
apparent reason. Where he was kind of banker material, really. So you've got to have that in mind a little bit, as well as Lamba's kind of maybe lack of tactical speed at certain points. But Cargis might be the one to go up front and kind of test that initially. Kopek the Board might go, so there might be early pace. I mean, if Irish Panther goes, he likes to get on with it. Kappa G Pike could run well at a price. He's taking his chance. Steel Ally, I think, could. I think he might want it a bit softer than he's going to get it, though. Romeo Cool and Cargis, he did have a hard race, but they're both two fine horses. I think Romeo Cool would probably go here. you're going to water the first day. You're going to maybe get good to soft. Well, if it doesn't into Wednesday and it stays dry, might be in a bit of bother, and it's kind of mixed messages really in the forecast. I think that again, that's another kind of why they're playing late. But I think they've always been reluctant not to go straight up to 3 miles with them this season. So he could end up here, and it could be a reasonable each way bet at the moment. But because he does have form to kind of mix it with the top two. But yeah, I've just been on the Lambeth side pretty much all season, and I'm not gonna switch now. But yeah, and particularly if Old Park Star comes in, he might Lambeth might even be able to go off favourite.
Okay, so you're predicting the Henderson double in the first 2 days. I'm in the Lambert camp at the moment. We'll move into the Champion Hurdle on the Tuesday, the feature race, and we'll get into this. We've got the New Lion at 9-4, Brighter Days Ahead 10-3, Lossiemouth 7-2, Golden Ace last year's winner 7-1, Pony Ross 10s and 16-1 bar. First question: does Lossiemouth run here? Yes or no?
No, she'll run in the mares.
Okay.
In my opinion, yeah, I just it's rinse and repeat, really, isn't it? The last 2 seasons, it's pathetic. But we'll move on.
Would she win if she came here? Would she win?
I think she's got more chance of winning this than the mares.
So there.
I mean,
Right.
the way Willie Mullins is talking about her suggests that she would go here if she's 100%. But if that Irish champion has left a mark, seems like it might have. They would take the easier option, go to the mares. But I think bumping into Woodhouse is equally as difficult as this, perhaps. So, yeah, it's a weird one. I don't really like her either way, to be honest.
Okay. What do you like?
I like Brighter Days Ahead, strangely enough.
Okay.
I think it's all about a champion hurdle of who do you trust the most. I mean, what weaknesses is the thing that kind of least affects you. And I think Brighter Days' course record is great. It's not ideal, but there's been excuses made for it, and I think that's less of a worry than the New Lion's lack of tactical speed to me around here. Mares Novice Hurdle, I think they kind of just took it a little bit for granted. Golden Ace kind of got first run. We're both kind of staring at Jade DeGrugy, yeah, to a degree, but Golden Ace was a worthy winner anyway. But she was odds-on favourite and slightly disappointed. The second she wasn't right at all. They found a knee injury afterwards. And even at Punchestown, they found it there as well. So it was the same kind of thing. Now, she might not like the track anyway, and she might not be a spring mare anyway, really, at the back of that. But she's the best horse in this race by a long way. A long way. Because the New Lion...
What do you think of the going to the Ollie Murphy yard?
That doesn't matter to me. Yeah, okay. It's a bit like Johnny Deneen when he said, what, Jerusalem or something like that, wasn't it? Yeah, it could be like, it could be Mars for all I care. I don't care. As long as he turns up in the day, it doesn't bother me. Was he stable then? Get a Premier in or something? I mean, it's what kind of least worries you. I mean, Golden Ace is a solid one, but is she really good enough? Is she really kind of built up, enhanced her record? Not in the figures, really. Pora Ross still has a bit to find. The rest of them a bit to find. Anzadam's blotted his copybook the last twice. Tutti Quanti's not getting the rain to be a factor. Alexei, the hard enough race the last day and has enough to find as well. And Work Ahead's probably going to go to the county anyway. So you're left with kind of the least worst option here. And to me, it's Brighter Days Ahead. And the thing that really swings it to me is the allowance. Mm-hmm. She's the best horse in the race without it. And she's getting 7, and she's got more pace than the New Lion. And I think you could combine that to, even if she is slightly off it, you can maybe see her winning this at 90%. They've changed the training methods a little bit with her. The yard change is slight. Is the least because the only one, but they've trained her differently. She didn't have that big hard race before Christmas. We're coming out last year where that was a massive figure in the clock. This wasn't as big, and I think Jack Kennedy was kind of much more sensible on the Irish champion, where she was just kind of holding on. I don't think she was left kind of legless there. Well, I think maybe the run-up was in that day. So, and I don't think she's completely ground dependent because her big number was in good to soft, and I think that's what she's going to get here. So, the track's a doubt. But I think she's got the least doubts of the lot. The New Lion, to me, I quite liked him at the start of the season, to be honest. I thought, he could handle it. And I wasn't too perturbed by Newcastle. He was awkward. He ran out. He kind of took a chance at one, then fell, stepped at it. But the thing that really put me off him was the day where Sergino kind of, obviously his fractured pelvis, he was workmanlike in beating the Mean Lion and Brentford Hope, like horses that'd be 1,000 to 1 in here. You know, I mean, that was a kind of 150 performance, and I know it was slowly run. He's come from the back, but see if you look up the close up with that side on where he jumps the last two, he's losing half a length to these
Mm,
horses in the air.
yeah,
You're not going to get away with that
nah.
champion pace, and the fact that he's chanced at them. You know, it's similar kind of chancy stuff that Constitution Hill had. So I can't have him at all here. I think he's a joke of a favourite, to be honest. I really do. I really think he should be the one that's 10-3 and Brightley's ahead should be 9-4 to me. I think there's too much made of her track selection and far too much made of the New Lions. Let's be honest, way inferior form to her. Way inferior. The Turner's
Yeah.
form's not even working out well now that he won. I don't
I
think he's
don't think
fast.
he's. I don't think he's slow. I think you touched on Trish Boy. I don't think he's slow, but I
Yeah,
don't think he's got the tactical pace for this.
he shouldn't
That's
be. But I mean, that's the thing, though. I mean, again, the flip argument is, well, it could be ornery enough that he can, and
yeah,
it's been treated as a trial, and he ran as if it was being treated like a trial. You know, he would build on that. You know, like a lot of Dan Skeltons, I think they're going to be in. I think they're going to be in savage form. So I think that's the trust factor there with the New Lion is if he does jump quick enough, you can trust him to run his race here. A bit like Golden Ace, you'll trust him to run a race, but Brightly's ahead is a better horse, and I think that's worth chancing.
I think the problem I've got with this race is there's 3 horses not running in it who I think would win this easily. State
Two,
Man, Sergino, and Constitution Hill.
two.
Constitution Hill would stayed on his feet. I could lap these, to be honest.
Well, he wouldn't.
Brighter
That's
days.
the problem.
Oh, I know. The New Lion. I think he's just there's just something you need to be beating Brentford Hope and the Mean Lion a lot better than what he did. I think he would have won the fight in fifth if he'd stayed on his feet, but even there, I
Yeah,
think he would have won it, and that would have been a grind. I just don't. I never really fancied him this year anyway. I just think that it's very very difficult coming back. I think if Lossiemouth turns up, she would probably win. Golden Ace is obviously a lot of people are just she's not even a good each way price at the moment. I know people are saying, oh she's the one with the form. I get that, but I'm not
can
backing her
can,
7-1.
can the
I don't think she will.
circumstances of last year happen twice in a row? I think that'd be
Nah, I
very
don't think
difficult
so.
for her, but she would have less to find against far inferior principles.
I
So I
don't
mean, you can
have a
make a case
concrete
for
favourite.
most. You make a case for most, but I mean, I personally think the lesser of all these evils here is Brightly's ahead, and you're getting like 3-1, 7-2, 10-3 isn't bad anymore. You know, and I think the kind of course form is it's a little bit overblown in comparison to everyone else's weakness in this race because of her ability. You know, I think she's the best horse in the race by a long way, and she's getting £7 to the favourite, which helps. You know, mares have won what four of the last six.
Yeah.
Honeysuckle twice, Epatante, and Golden Ace. I mean, it does count for a lot.
Okay. Amsterdam 20-1 again. He's obviously clearly bonkers, but there could be a day he could go close.
Could pick
Hope
up the
Patrick.
pieces.
He could, but I don't know. I think it's one of those. You're in the brighter days ahead camp. I've
Yeah,
got no concrete opinion. If Lossiemouth does go, I think she will be the one to beat, but we'll see what happens. But I'm not holding out hope that she's going to go here. So brighter days ahead for you, and I'm sitting on the fence. I'm going to get a sore backside. Rest of day one, we've got the Fred Winter, the Ultima, the Plate, National Hunt Chase. Just in a minute or so, Callum, what is your kind of thoughts on day one? The rest of day one.
well, Ben Hull's out. He's not going. I think they get that
No.
£5 hike and thought, I don't fancy that. So
He's
yeah,
still in the Triumph, I think.
still in a triumph. Probably scratch for that as well. But yeah, it was just kind of a token bet, a flyer at a price to kind of get an interest in it. The two I would be warming to. Secret Force don't think we'll get in now. I think the two that I quite like the most, Mustang De Broy of Henderson's, I think, has got good form. I think that's a second string, and Glen to Glen of Joseph's. I think they're the two that I would like against field. I think the top of the market are a little bit overbet now in the Fred Winter. The Ultimate, I also think the top of the market are overbet. Jaguar, Rocco, Handstands, Town, Quebecois, no. Highland and Johnny Who are two that are on the radar. Back Blaze away,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a bit to find, but I do think it's a good horse, and I think it has a chance each way. And I think this is the race it would go for. the best bet of the whole meeting is in the plate, and it's Madara. It's lobbed in. It's a weak race. It's Jaguar won it last year, being unexposed in it. This Brian Drew Panic Attack colours, and then this has been held back like Panic Attack was, and Panic Attack's improved it of all recognition. I think this fella could do similar going up and trip. I suspect the cheek pieces will be back on. I suspect that'll be the excuse the Skeletons will need when they go into the stewards' room, when they see this win by 6 lengths and see how it's improved by all recognition. I think there's also desperate racing behind.
As
I don't think McClory's kind of really fully tuned, really mentally. I think he's a bit of a wise guy's horse to me. I don't think he's all there. All the wises with respect, the rest are pretty exposed, I would think. Zurich could run well. There might be a couple of flyers in there, but I would quite sweeten Madara. The National Hunt Chase, it's a rerun of kind of what you usually get at the top of the market, looking good. Back me a Satame, Newtown Tornado. I think Weed Out would struggle off top weight. Iceberg Theory is the one that interests me a bit down the market for Paul Nolan. The 14s bracket. I think each way he could run quite well.
Fred Winter, I've got Quinta Delago each way. I've also got a 20-1 bet in Saratoga that I completely forgot about until recently, but I'll let that go. I'm not backing him at 4-1. I think you've mentioned Wise Guy's horse. I think everybody's caught on to him. Malaga, I think, is probably the most talented in here. I just have a concern that she might be done by a big field. I think she might get a wee bit of a shock to her system. Happy to play Quinta Delago each way. Couple that caught my eye in the Fred Winter. Genealogy, I think, has been handicapped quite well. Decent flat form, and I think any of Joseph C, the one that caught my eye is Glen to Glen, but Joseph's obviously got a good record in this, and I would keep an eye. Ultima just looks an absolute minefield to me. Don't fancy Jaguar going up and trip. I know they're putting headgear on. Aroko, is he going to be absolutely going for this? Ben Paulin seems to think handstands is an absolute banker. I don't see that personally. I don't really think there's much of a view in the Ultima. Nothing really jumping out to me. Play kind of with you, either Madara, McClory win. I don't think there's much else in the race. Probably prefer Madara out of it. McClory, just don't know. I just don't know if the track would be ideal. I think he bombed out completely last year in the county hurdle. I just don't know if maybe he's. I know it's only one run, but I'd fancy Madara, I think, to beat him in National Inches with you, Iceberg Theory, and the other one that caught my eye was Pick Rock. Nothing really else jumping out. Back me a Satme's too short. I know it's an Emmett Mullins, Paul Byrne special.
All these kind of 4-5-1 shots at the top, they're going to come out. Again,
Yeah,
if you do like them, keep them on side. I mean, these have obvious chances. They're obviously there, but they've been surged in. And, bookmakers on the day, they want your business, particularly the first day, they want your business, they'll come after you. And they will push them out. A lot of these will come out to at least 6s. So, I mean, it's definitely not a time to kind of go in. Just drop the shortlist handicaps, pick ones off that you like, pick ones off that you don't like, go from there.
Okay, we'll move into day 2. We've got the Turners Novices Hurdle and another very open novice hurdle race. And I don't think it's maybe get the class of the Supreme Bankers are a very interesting development in this. No drama this end 4-1. Mighty Park 9-2. Talk to Talks in here at 5-1. Skylight Hustle 6s. You've got Ballyfad, King Rascal Grey, Act of Innocence. I'll sort that. Dr. Steinberg's in here as well about 16s. You've got Lights of Sortudo, 20-1 bar. Callum, very, very competitive. Start with no drama this end. Again, the Challow Hurdle curse was broken last year. Where are we at with no drama this end? Is he the one you like here?
He's got a chance. It's all right. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think you could probably put a cigarette paper between all of these at the top of the market. Particularly ratings-wise, I think I've got them rated all within kind of a few pounds of each other and different lines of form. So it's going to be hard. And I think whatever way the Supreme goes, I think a lot will cotton on to that and see where to go. Yeah, he's doing fine. Not earth-shattering. For me, the Challow wasn't overly strong that he won, but he did it well enough. He showed he's got a bit of speed the last day where he won. He obviously knows he can stay, and the appeal of him is that he's kind of a rock solid, uncomplicated type. He's been around course and distance before at the start of the season. But I think that's probably just as good form as his subsequent 2 runs. Beating the right horses, beating them quite comfortably. And I can see why he's favourite at the top of the market. He's one that I wouldn't rule in or rule out like a lot of them. he was very short kind of early on, and I did say, he will come back out because the Irish form will start developing itself, and the Nichols thing, they'll be inclined to take him on. He has a chance. It's a race I would be definitely leaving largely to the day, but he's definitely up there.
Mighty Park, I think, is very much the talking horse. Talk the top, pardon the pun, as well. Skylight Hustle, Callum, we obviously won the Grade 1 at Christmas, has been kept for this. They are confident they're going to go up and trip. They obviously have kept him over 2 miles. He won a 3 mile point to point, so there's definitely that to come. He's the one to me out the field I'm looking at going, you're the kind of least complicated in here, and you're the one with the least amount of holes
Yeah,
at the moment.
he kind of benefited, didn't he, when he won? Talk the talk, probably this measure. He came down, he still won it well. He won at Fairyhouse. He's made beforehand, so yeah, he was on the go quite early. Beat Gowran early on in November, and you kind of think a horse starting that early. Are you really kind of 6-1 material in a turners down the line? But it's that kind of year where he could well be. I don't think I'll be with him on the day, but I respect his chance. The one that I'm drawn to slightly the most is if he runs here would be King Rascal Grey.
Okay.
He took a massive walk in the betting in that talk to talk race in Ballyfad, where he travelled like the winner. I mean, he looked very impressive going out, and he just blew up. And Willie Mullins did allude that he looked as big as a bull. Thought he was like in foal. You'd have thought he was in foaling in the parade ring. That would explain the drift. And if he's tightened up for that massively, he's a huge runner here because that form entitles him to be in the mix. And and if it was run tomorrow and all these turned up, which he won't, some of them go elsewhere, but 8-1 each way, I think he's a rock solid play if this was run tomorrow.
Townend probably rides him, doesn't he?
And he would, I think he would ride him. I think he would pick him. Act of Innocence is a squeak in his best form. Manila Yoga, that wasn't as bad because he gave him £20 away. But he won well the last day. And the Cindy Banks quite nicely. I think also that's coming here. Drying ground would be a bit of a negative for him, perhaps. Dr. Steinberg, I think, looks Bartlett bound now. And I think Sir would be interesting if he ran here. Freshened up with a chance. Yeah, I mean, King Rascal Grey and Sir would be the two it's feel, but it's not one of many of these races, this festival, as we've alluded to at the start, you wouldn't want to be dogmatic about.
Nah. Mighty Park, I think he's 9-2 at the moment, but see if they said he was coming here and there was a gamble, like in Perry Pass, I don't think I would mind taking 5-2 if he's that good. But it's more, where's he going to go? You can't back him now unless you're the non-runner, no bets there to help you in that. But I'm not backing a horse until I know where it's going. And it's the same. Sertudo's obviously, Sertudo could go anywhere, but he's the same price as I put him up. And I wouldn't put myself off going back in each way. Because
I think this is probably the right race for him, isn't it? Probably.
He was one of very few who had a clear run in the kind of Christmas period. He beat Jalan Dudery in his maiden, and he was very, very unlucky the day that he was beaten by Alsort. That I think the jump, I don't think the ground was on his side either. I think that's
he kind of made up a lot of ground that day at Navan and just didn't quite get there. And I think that finishing effort kind of took a bit like Fact of File did in the John Durkin, where you make so much ground to try and get to the rival, and the rivals just left a bit more of the time to come back and beat you or hold you off. And he obviously has champion bumper form that's working out reasonably well. So even if you run in that race, you're going to be highly regarded down the line. So definite chance each way wherever he goes. Mighty Park, like it's either the price for you or the height for you. I mean, it's to me these horses. I'm inclined to just let them win, to be honest, and invent the market for maybe an each way chance or something like that. That's what I would be doing in that regard. But you can see why they are, and if that hype is justified on the day and he is get steamed in, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to respect it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're King Rascal Grey, Sertudo for you, and I'll maybe go Sertudo each way in Mighty Park if he's sharpening up. Let's get into the Brown Advisory Novices Chase. Final Demand has been favourite all season, and he's still favourite at 7-2. You've got the Big Western 5-1. Cade Dorothy 6-1. Cocktail Divan, Wendigo, Western Fold. A move for Cocktail Divan today. and 10-1 Barker. And Final Demand, it was pretty much a penalty kick for everybody until the DRF. He's still favourite. Should he be?
So a reminder, there's no certainties in this game. Yeah, after trying to figure out the tunnels, this is operation out of the frying pan and into the fire, isn't it? This is even harder. Geez Louise, this is tough. Yeah, I mean, Final Demand's probably the one that I wouldn't back at all out of them all. After that, I mean, I was quite alarmed by that. He checked out quite tamely. He was never going at all. He didn't really get up the hill with much conviction in the turners. And I think his petrol tank goes from full to empty fairly quickly, regardless of what mood he's in. And he might be a touch soft. So I think horses like that, I think you do have to kind of take on here. The big Westerners, obviously, a lot of respect, would like some rain. And she's the one with a lot of potential in this, getting £7. But our raw form this season isn't anywhere near 5-1 material here. That's the thing. You have to kind of back her on potential grounds. And I think the price is short enough to do that. Cocktail Divan seems to be, there's going to be a bit of late U-turn here that they might come here now with the ground drying out. He'd have a chance if he stays. Wendigo's kind of the solid, reliable, old-fashioned 3-mile chase one here that a lot of people like and would run well each way. Western Fold, second season novice, shouldn't really be up to this, but it's an open year and he has the mark, but I think his stamina will be a little bit stretched in this. I mean, they're not good, usually not any hiding place. Kitzbühel as well, might prefer flatter tracks. Took a tumble the last day. Could run well. Oscar's brother would want more rain. Silver would want more rain. The rest, Predators Gold, maybe lacks requisite class. So the one that I've kind of brought back to, maybe because Final Demand bombed out a lot, is Cade Dothy.
Okay.
If you win a race like that, which has been traditionally the 3-mile novice race of the season coming into this every season, Willie Mullins' second string it's been talented. It has obviously his problems where it's inconsistent and stuff like that, but he's gone 1-2-1-1 now, and he's done it pretty effortlessly, really. You know, he does have a bit of form and good to soft ground. He's uncomplicated. He jumps well. He's just transformed for a fence, and he's the youngest of these as a 6-year-old along with Cocktail Divan. So there's still reasonable enough room for improvement, and the cheap pieces with Majborough coming later on, you know, it helped this fella a lot as well. If the same effect, he's going to be hard to knock. And for all Final Demand, yeah, disappointed. Him beating him that day is the best form in this field. And I'm a bit puzzled as to why Final Demand isn't 6-1 and Cade Dothy is 7-2.
It's the hype, isn't it? It's the what could this horse be? I'm not going to touch Final Demand again. I'm 6-1. I backed him about, I think exactly a year ago. I backed him before the festival last year about 6-1, and I'm going to keep that running. And he's in a couple of multiples that I've had since. Cade Dothy, they've always thought a lot about him because if you remember Willie Mullins last year before the DRF, he said this fella was in league with Kopek the board. So they've always had a thought that he could be good.
And I think he just had kind of problems since, really. He maybe just a rather slow learner, but he was 5-1-6, and maybe that's kind of caught him out as well a little bit. He's a bit backward. You're a bit concerned that it might come up again, and he did disappointed at Cheltenham, obviously, last day where he pulled up, but he didn't really have a clear run. He was fourth in the race to Kopek the board, wasn't he? He was beaten 27 and a bit.
Yeah.
Where he kind of did back out of it, and maybe that he was kind of feeling the effects of that, and it was just maybe a bit too much too soon for him. But he's done nothing wrong over fences, you know, and he obviously put that right. He was the one that he ran quite well at Punchestown when he came back. He's gone through the ranks. He's given a mark of 133 at the start of the season, and you think, oh, maybe that's why he's kind of caught up. But you know, he's got better with experience. He's put 4 good runs together. His only defeat is at Punchestown over that mid-range trip to Kitzbühel, where I think the trip kind of really beat him. I think Kitzbühel was just a bit quicker, particularly around Punchestown. But going up in trips exactly what he wanted. Beat Wingman as convincingly as Final Demand did the first day. So, and at Leopardstown, for all the excuses that were made about the favourite, you know, Cade Dothy won this well. When Western Fold threatened to come to him, he just waltzed away again. as if he'd plenty in the tank and on ground like that, which was quite impressive. Closing section was 102%, so I think that's the best form of that, and I think a replication of it might be good enough. He was 5-1 that day. He'd probably go off with 5-1 in this, and he might be the bet. Like, I mean, I'm not. He's the one I'm leaning to right now. It's definitely, again, it's not kind of concrete stuff, because the Big Western has a chance, Cocktail Divan has a chance, Wendigo's a solid one, definitely has a chance. But yeah, he's one that I'm kind of leaning to, and it's another JP McManus, Willie Mullins job again, isn't it? Fact to Phil was a bit backward, wasn't he? Really skipped hurdles with him. Maybe this fella's just a chaser.
Okay, I think again, Final Demand. I'd probably want to win. I want to see what he can do. I think I
Of
thought
course.
last season he would. I thought he'd be a Gold Cup horse, and I still think there is something. I thought ground. The last 2 days, I thought at Limerick he jumped fine. He jumped well, actually. He just wasn't as impressive. I don't want a horse to be winning
Just
a
related. I'd actually be kind of more warm about his chances if he just pulled up halfway. The fact that he had to keep going and it looked hard work and he slogged it out of the line and bad ground over 3 miles, that might have bottomed him as well. On top of any issue that he potentially had, there was rumours that he bled out. They've been dispelled, but it's just hard to shrug away the fact that there's something there, and there's a lot of not world beaters in behind, but there's 4 or 5 really solid horses here in behind to take on, and he's not a solid favourite.
Well, there's a couple that are jumping out. There's actually 3 that are jumping out, and I never ever thought I would come here back and think, oh, Wendigo could win the Brown Advisory, but I never thought the real Wacker could win it. And
Yeah,
I
that's the
think
thing.
I
Jerry
just
Fillon.
think he's
Yeah.
solid enough. I think he's just going to stay for days. Western Fold, I think, will actually improve for the better ground. And the one that I think is going under the radar is 6 Mile Bridge if they go here, because I think his performance again when beating Callum at the
Silly
Foal was very good, and then he obviously wins a Grade 1 in the Scilly Isles.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see Fergal go close with a horse in this. Like, he's got a couple of chances later on that we'll maybe cover. But if there's an each way play in this race, I think 6 Mile Bridge might be coming out. He's won well. Again, another who maybe didn't run his race last year I think he was 9th behind the New Lion, and again he obviously he won that race at Cheltenham, didn't he? The year race before he beat Potter's Charm, but obviously there was something with his substance. But he obviously beat Potter's Charm, so there's Cheltenham form there, and you've got a possibility, Callum. I never thought I'd say this. You've got a possibility where two horses in here have shown winning form at Ayr.
Oh yeah, it's best place in the land. That's your reverse forecast right there, isn't it?
It is.
Air form to the 4. The Western Fold's owned by people from Glasgow, so
Yes.
that's about
Cocktail
as
Divan.
much
Cocktail
interest as it
Divan's
gets.
interesting because I think I can understand why he's been pummeled for the Jack Richards, but I'm just not sure. The Bromhead form is a bit of a concern. I thought it'd be a bit better coming into this week, as we'll maybe touch on. But
You
I
took a
just
winner,
don't
didn't
think
you? Yesterday?
Cocktail. I don't think Cocktail Divan would is. I think I fancy him for Jack Richards. I don't fancy him particularly for this. And I think if they're going here, it asks a bit of a question of the Big Western, because you'd imagine Darrell Keefe would want to split them.
Oh yeah, if he rates both of them, yeah. But I think he'd ride the Big Western over that just in case.
Yeah.
But you've got different owners to consider, and 2 in this. This is a Grade 1. He should really be going for this. We'll see. In terms of yard form, I would trust Henry de Bromhead to get it right here.
Um,
He does definitely more often than not, pretty much all the time. Same with Gavin Cromwell as well, I would say. So, but that's the kind of thing that you'll learn after the end of day 1, going into day 2. So I think that's going to be more informative for the day, and that's why I think a lot of people are going to leave it late, because you've got a difficult puzzle already, and you're going to get closer clues to the time in terms of yard form and ground and market moves, because the more money's going to come in the later you are, so it's going to be more significant. So it's just going to reveal more of the kind of picture really to you. So yeah, again, it's kind of a race where you can take an initial position but be flexible with it and not commit. And at the moment, I would be with Cade Doughty.
okay, I think I'm going to let Final Demand just roll. I'm going to roll with them with the prices I've got, and I think Wendigo, Western Fold, and 6 Mile Bridge could be interesting players. Queen Mother Champion Chase, Callum. We've got an odds-on favourite. Could that be Curtains again? Majbra 8-11. Obviously, the news about Marine Nationale yesterday, which has obviously ruled him out. Majbra's now odds-on. Ali to Top 7-2. Load the Sud 7-2. Calixio 7-1. 10-1 bar. Callum, Marine Nationale being out obviously completely changes the complexion of this. Majbra 8-11. We've been here last year. you lot. I think you absolutely adore Masborough, but is he an 8 to 11 shot in a champion chase when we've been burned so many times in the past in this race?
Yeah, it depends. He might be now because Marine National's out. Yeah, who knows? I mean, what impression do you take the most? The one that came out at Leopardstown the last day and looked absolutely invincible. You know, breathtaking stuff. You know, cheek pieces worked. He never missed a beat. Came out the front, flew them, met pretty much every fence flawlessly, and that was the complete. That was kind of his coming of age moment again. Really, that's kind of the performance that we were expecting of him since really the day he won the triumph. But Leopardstown soft ground, being in the right place, right time, forceful ride, everything went right for him. Can that be replicated here where it's a shorter trip, quicker ground, tighter track, and a place where he's ploughed through the last two fences last time, and you just get that picture of the second last again coming into view, and is he going to meet it right or is he not? The cheek pieces need to have the same effect. Um, he's going to be undulating track on the turn. I don't think it's a natural 2 mile chaser, but he's so talented that he could get away with it. I mean, a bit like probably the Kopek the board debate they had in the Arkle, where he's definitely the speediest horse in the race and definitely oozes class. But it's just whether it's all going to come together again like it did the last day. And John Bond was favourite last year. And, one mistake took the stuffing out of him, dodgy start, it's game over. Doesn't matter how good you are, it tends to be game over. And that's what the Arkle, where he was almost good enough to overcome it, but that was against Novices, where he looked much more forward. Here he'd have less in hand. 8 to 11, it's probably not for me. Probably not.
I think if he runs, I think you'll agree. I think if he performs to the level he did at Leopardstown and
It's
jumps everything
£10
right,
clear of anything. At least £10.
it's a point
Well,
shoot.
maybe not LIT Tom, but LIT Tom's got track questions of his own round here.
It's a big question mark as well over how he came out of that last time. That was a horrible fall.
Yeah, that was a bad fall. I think he'll come out of it better than most people think. He's had 2 months off. I mean, he should be reasonable enough, but Lourdes Sud's going to probably run a career best here. He would need to, but he probably will because he's left fresh. And for all the kind of Masborough still finished ahead of him in an Arkle, despite making all those mistakes. The difference was that Lourdes had a run beforehand and it completely took the edge off him. He probably left his Arkle behind, and he did travel as if he did. He hit the front too soon and get outstayed up the hill. Is he going to get up the hill again? He looked good in the Schlure. He's at least going to replicate that performance, and that would give him a chance. If Masborough misses a beat, he'd be the one that would probably capitalise on it. Quilixios, not really seen him all season, but can come back. He was on the premises with Marine Nationale last year, so he's got the figure and performance in him.
I've heard people saying he would have won last year. No, he wouldn't.
I think people that have got holes in Marine Nationale, yeah, but no, I don't think so either. But it was a bit far out to really fully tell. But consider this kind of working theory sometimes Marine Nationale with the battle. Beforehand, I think I probably would have backed Marine Nationale coming into this, okay. and then the kind of Barry Connell said about headgear, and then I was a bit worried, and then the next day he's out. It didn't quite all add up. That's for sure. I really like the horse, the favourite, and I actually want him to win.
Yeah,
I want him to replicate that performance. I want him to be, because we need a star champion chaser. Energamine was very good in his day when right, but I think he's very good. I don't think he's that good that it's not really. I don't think it's natural game. I think more of a Gold Cup horse, to be honest. But he's a unit. I think he can kind of do it all. It's just whether it all comes together for him. Hope it does. He'd be one of the youngest winners of it in recent history. Is that inexperience still going to catch him out or not? We'll see. But I think he'll win. I think he hope he'll win. But again, as you've alluded to, it's been a bit of a graveyard for favourites like that. And there's been safer options than him in the past that have won it. And there's a really legitimate danger in the second favourite as well.
Yeah, the last 6-year-old to win this race was Masterminded back in 2009. I don't think he's talented as Masterminded, but I don't think he's that far off. Maybe when he first won. Lourdes Sud, I think they've kept him fresh. can see him running his race. I don't think he's going to get anywhere close to Masborough if Masborough's on song. The one that is jumping out to me, and I don't know why, and I think it's just because I've seen a rumour that she's being rerouted here instead of the Mayor's Chases only by night. I think
Well,
she
up
could be
market.
an each-way player in this at 25 if they do go here. I don't think there's any evidence to say that she's better over 2.5 because I don't think she'd run over 2.5.
It's been untried, isn't it? And the
I
Mayor's Chase
think,
is reasonably hot.
yeah, I think she's potentially an each-way player. You're going to get 3 places because you've enough runners. I think she's potentially the each-way player here because Thistle Ask isn't going. Solness, I don't think's going. Irish Panther
So
isn't
if it
going.
dries out, Solness might.
Yeah, I just think there's nothing else in behind that's really interesting me at all. And
The thing is, I
I,
mean, these horses really have little chance, but if they turn up, they help form the kind of tactical nature of the pace.
yeah,
Is there going to be a lot of speed on here? You know, it, because I quite like Masborough kind of free flowing and being pretty handy. If he's going to be messed about or how's this. How's the start? The start was a shambles in this race last year, an absolute shambles. You don't want to see that again. You want to see that procedure work out fine. So there's a lot of doubts, and if there is a lot of chances, that would probably help Lewis. You see him kind of coming there like Newby Negra did that year. He didn't quite get there. He would need to give a fine ride to win, but I can see him running a stormer. I definitely can. I think he's the one he's the one that's probably the best prep coming into it. But even in defeat this season, Masborough beforehand, he's still been beaten quite close up, and even though doing things wrong, he's always going to be in the conversation anyway. Even when he did get beaten the Arkle, there was a brief moment where you think he could still actually
yeah.
win this, hanging towards the rails. So that's a testament to his engine. His engine's remarkable. I think it's the best in the sport. But I was kind of hoping to start the season he'd run Ryanair because I just think he'd find it easy in the new course for him. I just think constantly on the turn, champion chase, and the fences will come a bit quicker and quicker ground. And I just think Leopardstown suits his kind of big galloping nature. Really, he's a Triumph Hurdle winner. Don't really associate that with kind of 2 miles. I know we're
Nah.
kind of doing it differently with kind of Lalamba and the Arkle, but Stairs, we know Stairs can really win Arkles. Here, it's a little bit harder to do. But we know he's going to go at the speed figure there to kind of do it. So he's one of those where it's going to be hard to weigh up. I mean, put it this way, he wouldn't be in my multiples. That's for sure.
Nah, I think I really hope he wins. I'd love for him to win because I
Yeah,
think he is
he's
that.
one of those actually where he can just watch and not have a bet and hope that he
Yeah,
wins and be what he is. And that would be enough for me because I do really like him.
and I think I hope he wins, and I think maybe only by night as an each way play later on. We'll go to the last Grade 1 on the Wednesday, the Weatherby's Champion Bumper. It's a race that's dominated by Willie Mullins, and he has a lot of options in here. Love Signed Anew is 4-1 favourite. The Irish Avatar 6-1. Keep Him Company for Gordon Elliott 7. Kirin 8-1. Base Hunter 10s. It's only a game. Mets the Shen Tour and Our Trigger. The Moon Ramblers at 10s and 14-1 bar. Which Willie Mullins horse, Callum, is that unfair?
No, I mean it's quite open. I mean, again, barely anyone's got like 2 runs, so you can't really kind of formulate a kind of wealth of opinion here. And I think it's just on visual impression what you like. I think Quirin's the best of these that I've seen. I thought he was the bumper horse January the 9th at Nace, where I thought, yeah, that's good. I'd have some of that, particularly in a day where he drifted, because it was still at Willie Mullins' time where they weren't running well at all. Him to come out and do that was pretty good. He's French flat pedigree and stalls issues though, so he's kind of maybe like in a dream to share mould where the quicker ground they might get would suit him more than kind of your old fashioned kind of Love Signed a New favourite where he just looks like he needs bottomless ground. He looks like a scrapper to me. I think he's a pretty poor value favourite. I even think like the Irish Avatar's probably maybe a bit better than him. Keep Him Company, a bit of money for him. Quirin, the Moan Rambler, Colin Keane's going to be on for no Mead. Our Trigger's the other 4-year-old. You're going back to like Q card and things like that. 4-year-old's difficult, but I think this is a professional one, and he's going to get 8, 9, 10 pounds here as allowance, and I think it'll be pretty hard to knock out the frame. I think he's got a really good chance. I do think he's got a touch of class about him. I like his kind of flat background. He's in those appreciate colours as well. And yeah, he looked pretty good. Lacks experience, obviously his age, but He's got a decent French background to overcome it. I think he'd be versatile ground wise, tactically as well. I thought he looked pretty uncomplicated. I think he can maybe handle it. And I think there's a reasonable chance that Paul Townend will ride him because he's like 10-11. So he can maybe do a Fernie Hall and beat the favourite again, where he might have enough speed. But yeah, the more Ramble's also quite interesting. But for me, it's not really a race. There's so little to go on. It's hard to kind of really be very, very confident in anything. But Quirin's the one that's impressed me the most visually. But other people with different kind of specifics and what they like to see in their bumper horses.
Yeah, I can't knock Kieran at all. I think he's a good chance, and again, there's a possibility that Townend will be on board. Love Signed Anew looks to be more of a stayer. I think there's a lot of horses in here, like last year, who will finish midfield and go on and be really good. Like, I mean, No Drama This End and Idaho Sun were quite high in the list again. I think like Dalston Lad. There's a lot of horses here who I think it just comes too
It
soon.
depends how it's going to be run, isn't it? They actually went pretty slow last year, and that suited the classier Speedier horse and Bambino Fever. Came out the back. Patrick Mulligan tried to ride them from the back like they did with Jasmine DeVoe, who turned out to be a very good steer because it was in bad ground and he won the race. But I think he tried it in the last day in the favourite. It just didn't work because it wasn't fast enough. I mean, it was a good horse. So it's one of those things, really. Yeah, the tactical aspect of it. If a lot of them hold their ground, it looks like a lot of them would. There's no obvious one to run away from here.
No,
So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, who did he pick? Who did he pick last year, Patrick?
Copacabana.
Copacabana, yeah, and I had him for the Bartlett. You know, Game of Inches was in there as well, wasn't he? You know, these are kind of like 3 mile slow
They
horses.
won it with Bambino Fever. There's one thing I will say about this race is there's next to no graded form in this race. And I don't think I
Well,
can't
the
remember
graded
last
race
time.
that the DRF with Broadway Ted won it. He won it air beforehand, didn't he? And he's 20 to
Yeah,
1 here. So there's not a lot of trust in that kind of line of form, but you know, there's plenty of different strands to go on, and people will go off left, right, and centre. And a lot of people just leave it alone or take just absolute outside flyers. So interesting how
yeah.
it goes.
I've maybe got a couple of outside flyers. The one I like at the top of the market, I think, is the paciest, is that the Irish Avatar. I
Mm-hmm.
think he's probably put in the best bumper performance of the season for me.
Gigginstown finally win it.
And well, they've got two entries, so they've got two entries at the top of the market. So you're assuming they're going to take their chance. I don't remember the only one I can think of that went particularly close was Abacadabras. I don't remember
Abacadabra. So was getting third, fourth. Jalan de Dairies was close.
Jack
Calypso
Dairy.
Chance. Calypso Chance was well touted. Yeah, they've got quite a few that have turned out reasonably well, but just haven't got for whatever
Yeah,
reasons. One of these things, a bit
the
like GP McManus in the Championship.
the Irish Avatar. What I like about him is though, he just travelled really nicely into the race, and the second that he beat that day has come out and won very impressively last week.
Yeah.
So the form's working out. I think he's the one. I think Love Signed Anew is probably the one that you could see running in our turners next year. I think the Irish Avatar wouldn't be surprised if he's a supreme horse next year if things go well. Couple outsiders that I think one for Willie Mullins. I think the Wager potential is a good chance. He was another one I quite like the pace. He beat a horse Detroit Maverick, beat him really well. He was very green the last day and got there, but he showed a bit of turn of foot. And another one for the Skelton team, who do have one that's getting back quite highly, who's getting a lot of allowances, is the Mets to the show. But I think that's a very interesting thing. I'm not going to back a horse I don't know anything about. But Diamond Street, when he won at Doncaster, I thought he was quite interesting at the end of January. He looks to be a horse that maybe got a turn of foot as well. I can see him getting held up quite high and finishing quite strongly. So I think the Irish Avatar could be my kind of one play, and then I maybe have a wager on the Wager. See what I did there, and Diamond Street.
Yeah, I mean, I've not kind of got that far down. I mean, I could have looked at kind of the Mullins Battalion and settled on Quirin. He beat the seventh. The seventh came out. Cool Cafe, Gavin Cromwell's in one, and that horse beat the second in that race. Quirin, so and Quirin beat Apache beat by 9 lengths. So the fact that those two have come out and been 1 and 2 and similar bumper since is a good sign for me. So yeah, it's a pick and mix. It's a take your pick race anyway. Really, you wouldn't put anybody off anything in a race like that.
No, absolutely not. So we'll go into the remaining races in day two. We've got the now known as the Bet MGM Cup. We've got the cross country and the Grand Annual. What's your thoughts in day two?
Yeah, Bet MGM Cup, a firm I couldn't get on with, replaced by another firm that I can't go on with.
I can't go on either.
How marvellous. Yeah, Katia is one of the most ridiculous gambles I've ever seen. 40 to 1 into 14. She's not even pitched up at Cheltenham. Dreadful stuff. Not for me. Stormheart has a chance. 151. Looks high enough for what he's achieved. Same with the Yellow Clay 155. Looks too high to me as well. I like the GP pay on this. Iberico Lords 16s. He's been at the top of the mark all the times. He's saved for Lanzarote for this. He freshened him up. Did the same thing with Damn the Company. Just left him alone. Nicky Henderson's been ominously quiet about his chances, which is a good thing. He normally targets a good couple in here that are good. It's classy ones. William Henry won it. Craig Neach went close. Plenty of decent horses have gone well in this for him. And it's Kopek to me, Jimmy Desoy, Mark 2 here.
Okay.
He's on exactly the same mark. And he's not been seen pretty much since. The 4 over chases. I'll just scrap that. We'll go on hurdles and we'll stay off here 145. He was a massive gamble, Martin Pipe. Just get touched off. You'd think 5-2 favourite, he'd be pretty disappointed, but he was very inexperienced going into that race and was always too short. But we obviously think a good deal of him. He's been nibbled into 14-16s, and I can see why, because he's now in that kind of Jimmy Desoy mode of, he can kind of go well here. He's 6-year-old, he's young enough to kind of exploit that. And I think this is the way Willie Mullins now operates and attacks his handicaps with that state man rule, saying, well, we can't get novices in. We'll just hold fire for another year and come back. And if something doesn't go right, we can put quite a few of these away. So I only kind of looked at him as a second glance this morning, but I thought, yeah, I can see that one. So the 2 GP McManus ones were on the top of a long list for that race.
Okay. What else? What cross country Grand Annual?
Cross country, Bennett. Well, I mean, it's a ground related race, and the fact it's drying out. I mean, I still think final orders each way is not too bad, But I mean, Stumptown, Favori de Champ do top of the market. You'd probably prefer Favori de Champ do slightly because we've seen him and he's ineffective, and Stumptown's maybe a bit higher, and we haven't seen him, but the market's probably going to point in the way. I'm not really overly too interested in Desert Moorhouse, so and Vanilla would have a chance if it's soft, and Final Orders would have a chance if it's good. So I just think that's a ground-related race. It can be completely left alone. This is Grand Annual, isn't it? Be away at the top, Mark 2, and people aren't learning their lesson. Well, I have. I won't be backing him. After being on him in the Coral Cup, where he found zilch for pressure, and he's now been second 3 times. 8-1, no. Ryan's Rocket's been a good gamble. Too short now. Vanderpool, he's been well tipped up. You can see why he's quite progressive, but all his winning form's right-handed.
You listen to Ben Pauling. Ben Pauling's going to be a champion trainer.
Ben Pauling is 2 kind of high mark. Kelso, 2 quite high-profile pull-ups when they were really well fancied. They didn't go a yard. They didn't find for pressure at all. So, not that that's a cast iron negative, but that's something to keep an eye on. You don't want to be dipping now when a lot of others will be peaking. Ballysax, I thought it was interesting coming down and trip, and Highlands a legacy for the Neils as well. They were the 2 that I quite liked in the 14-16 to 1 bracket. I think that's a kind of bit to play in there. So yeah, 2 for the Coral Cup, the old Coral Cup, and 2 for the Grand Annual.
Okay. Coral Cup, the only one I thought about was a Henderson horse. It was Jinko Blue. I thought he showed a bit last time out. Jumped terribly behind Cabrel de Mathan, but I thought ran pretty well. Has graded form, and I think he could go pretty well here. Reminds me a bit of Whisper, actually, the Henderson horse. Like a horse that's got a bit of class, and I think can just go quite well here. Cross country, I personally think Stumptown would beat Favori de Champ 2. I've got absolutely no evidence to think Favori de Champ 2 is that good. I just think this is a dire race. I actually think if they run the Goffer, he could have an each-way chance, but he's not going to win. I think he could be well enough down the weights now to maybe run quite well. Grand Annual, I really like David's well for this. I'm gutted he's not in it. The one that I came down on was last year's winner, Jazzy Matty. He showed very little this season, but we know his Cheltenham record. He's won, obviously, he won the Boodles under the Michael O'Sullivan, and then won last year. It was a great story, and I think he's maybe going under the radar here.
£7 higher.
Yeah, I think, again,
I think it's a better race.
He's in a quiet season. I don't fancy Be Aware. In the pocket, I don't think he's potentially. I think that's another race that's pretty ordinary. I don't think there's
Yeah, like,
much.
I mean, that's why I kind of landed in Ballysax Hank a little bit. I think him coming down strip was easily, in the Paddy Power over 3 miles, he was tanking along to two
Hmm.
out, cut out like a light, went out favourite there. Don't
Hmm.
know if that was because Gavin Cromwell's Yardbirds just in no form whatsoever, or he didn't stay. But he won the market race in that summer plate really easily, the hurdle race that day, and he looked properly good. And maybe it's just again, maybe just like winning a bit like the Gold Cup holder at the moment. He just might just improve it all recognition for spring. And Highlands Legacy's got some really good form stacking up. Um, from kind of historical form from Newbury, where he was beating favourite, but he was beating the mighty Bandit. He was rated 129. He's now in the 150s and going in grade ones at Aintree. Um, at Aintree, he was given weight. He was having to give a pound to Mambo number 5, who's improved. Is another horse that's improved north of £20. So he's bumped into these. The yard can win it. They won it with Sky Pirate when they thought everyone was handicapped out of it.
60-4, he
Um,
went out there. It was
this
4 to
is
1
this
in the
is
morning.
much less obvious, and he's on a cracking mark, a 133 in that line of form. I think he's seriously unexposed, and I think he's got a very good each way chance. Him and Ballysax Hank, both different kind of types, but both is kind of similar price at 14, 16.
Okay, well, let's move into the Thursday and we'll move to the new course. We've got the mares at Novices Hurdle, Bambino Fever, 4 to 5, Old School Outlaw, 7 to 2, like I said, Echo and Silence, Selma de Veri, I don't think will go, Carrickmorn Spruce, 12 to 1, La Conquière, Charme de Faust, 16 to 1 bar. Callum, Willie Mullins won the first 5 renewals of this race and he hasn't won the last 5, but he has an odds on favourite here. And do you think she's a good thing?
No,
Okay.
no, no, I don't. Just because of the nature of the race, nothing against the horse. But, we've had hot pots beat left, right, and centre in this. Brighter Days Ahead, 6.5. Epitone, Dino Blue, a lot of high class horses here that it's just the nature of the race where sometimes they just don't handle it, get shuffled back, they'll just bump into one on the day. Even like reasonably well fancied horses like Manila Melody, for instance, they don't handle it, get beat by 50 odd lengths. Lucia 64, well beaten. The last winning favourite of this was Loreen in 2018.
Yes.
Let's Dance, Lemony, and let's be honest, that's when the mares wasn't really properly established. So Willie Mullins kind of had them all, and they were running against nothing. And then the big shot, Willie Mullins comes out with 50 to 1 shot. Eglantine de Soy wins it. The year Epitone, subsequent champion hurdle winner, finishes ninth,
Concertista was second the year, Eglinton Desoy one of them wins it the year
and
after.
then tops up and wins it, and then gets chinned by Black Tears, who race in that, who's behind her in the mares
Yes.
hurdle. So it's just a mares race. It's a mares novices race, and I just don't like backing horses that inexperienced and that short in it. Even though the champion bumper favourite, won that well, looked the best bumper horse, might well be their best novice horse anyway, and it looks like it is given how open it is. And have come here in the safe, and she could outclass them, but there's going to be about at least 20 others, maybe. It's usually a big field, trouble. And she's not got any hurdle form in the book to justify being odds on.
No.
And everyone's going blown away by her last day. She was 1 to 10 against nothing. And the only horse that's subsequently come out there in the top 4 has been stuffed in a worse race. I mean, I just can't get there at the price. It's just one of those where, yeah, I'll let you win. And the second favourite, who's took a walk in the market yesterday, but now come back in for some kind of bizarre kind of panic. They might go to Fairy House instead, they might not. But, she did beat her fair and square that day, and it's gone on to improve in a better race, in a Grade 3 race. It's just simply better form. And then you've got your kind of Henry de Bromhead sleepers in here, your other each way sleepers in here. There's plenty of them. There's historically been plenty of them that can just come and mug you for speed, like Golden Ace did, or stamina like You Wear It Well did. Horses like that. I mean, they can either get away, they can come from the back and do you like Air of Entitlement did. This is just a race that I would not touch an odds on shot in now at all. So she's reluctantly overlooked again. Just if she wins, she wins. If she's different class, she is. But I'm not playing at those prices. La Conquière each way. So one I've kind of been landing on. I liked all season. Jamie Stone won this where you wear it well. She's a speedier type, so she'd had to be run differently from the back. She wouldn't be able to kind of be prominent and kick away from Magical Zoe like the year she won it. But I think getting beaten open company where she was really well fancied, but I think just lack of experience told, sticky ground, gave them too much to do, got there. And the trainer's confident that she'll learn a lot from that. They've kept her fresh since off 54 days. Her overall mark of 133 is there on the evidence, and she wasn't getting any allowances that day, which was heavily backed into favourite against. Okay, horses that would have no chance in Grade 1, Grade 2s at Cheltenham, but they're still reasonable open yardsticks. And as we alluded to with Lalamba, I just think kind of Novices running in open company that quickly. I just think just because they get beat or just because they're not impressive, they seem to be kind of beaten with a stick a little bit, and that's just as good as form as hacking up in a nothing race in a maiden. So if she'd won that, she'd be half the price, and I don't think she bought their copybook that bad. And I think the nature of the race, where I think big field, bit more experience, ridden reasonably patiently, I think it'll quite suit her, and I think I'm happy enough to really land in her each way about the 12-14 to 1 bracket. And if the Bamble, if it's just kind of like 2 horse market stuff again, you're and they all kind of stick their ground, there's a good chance you could get 4, maybe 5 places as well, and at least 14 to 1 on the day as well. So yeah, there's no room to no need to kind of panic about it. And yeah, that's the one it's definitely one I'm going to back, and you could maybe even back others as well.
Yeah, Bambino Fever, she can win at 45. I just don't. I don't really think they've known what to do with her all season. We talked about it as if she was an Albert Bartlett horse at the start of the season. I know that this is a new course and she could just be a different league to these, but old school Outlaws, there shouldn't be that big a disparity between 2 horses when the second favourite's beating her fairly well.
Just because this race is here, and because it's a Grade 2, you don't want to come a Grade 1 penalty, and you want to kind of see where all your novices are. They just go here. It's because it's we see with Factify, we see it with Lossmouth. It's an eminently winnable race, and it's a target there all season. And just take the perceived easy option. So that's another reason why I'm not backing it. I kind of hope to see it get beat.
I think there's a couple of prices I quite like. I've obviously put up Full of Life on the show, and I think there's nothing that worries me in terms of how she's been campaigned. She's beaten Carrickmorna Spruce, who's actually the other one I quite like. But what really interests me is that both of them have fairly decent form, and especially Carrickmorna Spruce form with geldings. Like obviously, Full of Life obviously over fences was beaten by, I think it was Relieved of Duties over fences. But again, she's fairly well beat Carrickmorna Spruce last time out. I think there's a lot to like about they two, and Echo and Silence is the other one that maybe could just be decent. And Henry de Bromhead's obviously kept these for this, and he targets this race really well, as we've seen in the past. Carrickmorna Spruce, I think, has been sold. She was second behind Skylight Hustle in the day and ran fairly well, made good headway at Leopardstown, and beat horses that Love Me Tender, The Passing Wife, who've come out since. And I think that's decent form here. I just don't. I'm not taking a 45 shot that I don't really think's that good. I just don't have any confidence in her at all. And I think Carrickmorna Spruce at a price and keeping Full of Life and maybe go back in her at the day, and we'll see what happens. But I think I can just let her win at 45. I don't think I'll lose a lot of sleep if she wins.
Yeah, no, it's one of those. You either play at the price, or you don't. And to me, it's no, and it's not really. It's nothing against her. I think she is probably very good. She's only been once. The Champion Bumble's working out fine. There's definitely enough scope to improve. She's just probably kind of, and she will definitely improve. And she could dot up here. And the price tells you that, and the nature of the race. It's just no. I wouldn't be touching it.
Okay, we'll move into the Jack Richards Novice Handicap Chase, and Cocktail de Band's 9-2. Talk of them going to the Brown Advisory. Regent Stroll 11-2, last year's trainer. Winner was obviously trained by Paul Nichols, similar kind of profile. Meet Me by the Sea 6-1. McClory 8-6 Mile Bridge, Jordan's Cross, Slade Steel, former Supreme winner. Likes of Jacob Ladders in here as well, down Mexico way. Callum, it's a race that we're kind of establishing. Class Act won it last year in Caldwell Potter. Is that potentially there this year?
It's another one you'd be screaming for help in here, isn't it? This is ultra competitive. I mean, You don't know what's going to turn up, what's going to defect. I mean, and the fact now we've had a season of it when Cobble Potter won, you think the Irish has probably campaigned them a little bit differently to get a handle on this race a bit better. So historically, there's not a lot to go on. The Regent Stroll's probably the starting point, and I don't think he's a Cobble Potter.
No.
And I think he's in a tougher race as well. And while I think he's been campaigned very similarly, he does a bit of format. I just can't get there, and you're taking less price and less value. So no, and I don't think he'll be able to kind of dominate really the way that Cobble Potter did as well. So you can see him with a chance. He'll have his supporters, and a lot of people just say, "Well, that's enough for me. That's fine." You know, maybe by the sea looks the plot horse for the GPs for this for some time. It was at Ayr, but it's been well spotted. 6-1. I'd expect him to go back out at some point. 6 Mile Bridge 150 solid enough, a bit like the British equivalent to Cocktail Devon probably. Jordan's Cross, I would prefer him to go up and trip rather than here. The rest are kind of thinking going elsewhere, aren't they? It might cut up a little bit that nobody kind of expects. Maybe that's why they're kind of all short on the top of the market. The one I've been fascinated in, I haven't pulled the trigger all season, this is Kiss Will. Because he's got he was getting at £9 off Cocktail Divan. He was sent off favourite when he got beat even by 21 lengths, and he's kind of filled the same spot ever since. I think he's probably been dotting about for this. He won. I saw him win well at Perth with a nice patient ride, and it's usually a nice hot race towards the end of the season. Graded company, bit like Kay Doth, he just didn't fire in that tunnels for whatever reason, and I thought he was an eye catcher in behind Soldier in Milan, where he was never put in it, and he boxed on quite well to get within a length and a half. A marker 141, I think, is reasonable enough. I know he's in National Chase, I've I'm fed up to the back teeth of Closeton Bingo. That I'm just going to wait to see what happens. If he turns up, great. If he doesn't, no. But I mean, I just think he's the most interesting horse in the race purely because of that fact. Because I just think this might be a very, very long-term plan being hatched by connections and owners really that do like Cheltenham runners. So I don't really see what you
very clever owners as well.
I don't see what you'd wait for. The trip might be a bit on the sharp side, but if they actually ride him forcefully, like higher up, then you could see a completely different horse. So, but he's a horse that's kind of it's just the type of Willie Mullins horse that I like over and over again. That you just for whatever reason, because he's got so many top horses, you just don't see to best light because he's got better wins for those races. And you think give these horses a chance because they're actually pretty good as well. Yeah, I just think he's the most interested at 20 to 1 mark. But even with non-running Obey, I can't even be bothered putting the energy in to back him yet. So I'm just going to wait and see. Probably won't turn up tomorrow.
I think if Cocktail Divan goes here, I think he's going to be very, very hard to see.
That's the thing. If you like him and everyone's backing him off the boards, then he's the horse at a price that you've got to kind of like just in case you like out of that line and form. Because at the start of the season, if you think well, Willie Mullins' horses weren't right, if he's a 2-1 favourite that actually performs like a 2-1 favourite, like a normal Willie Mullins horse, you could be talking about that price for a Brown Advisory rather than this. So have they just gone, well, some of these novices, if they get beat, we'll give them time, we'll qualify them for certain races. And particularly a race like this, where it's just the second season inception of it, and he had horses like, O'More Park was in it last year, who's, hopelessly exposing comparison to this chap, but they still ran pretty well. He's way more. I would rather back him at 20s. I'm actually going to do it now. I'm going to back him at 20s because everyone's non-runner will bet anyway. So,
well, I think Cocktail Divan's the one. Kiss, I can understand Kiss. Well,
just at the prices, it's an interesting horse at the moment.
The one that keeps jumping out to me, and it is purely just because I think I look at 146 and think you're better than that, but are you better than that over fences as Slade Steel? But there's a possibility that he just might be tripless. Like, I don't think they've known what to do with him.
And he's another one that's been backed into 8 to 1.
I know.
All these have been backed. This one isn't. That's what kind of interests me. And I can see when people go on, if P Townend's on it, people are going to go, oh, Jesus. And Willie Mullins is surely going to win one of these handicap chases at some point. I think that's what he wants to do. And these owners are the type of owners that land a gamble, and they're definitely more Cheltenham orientated owners than a lot of his kind of lesser lights, absurd ethical diamond horses like that. They do tend to, and I like one in the county hurdle, but they're the same, but they do want to go there. I know that. So I mean, that's why I think there's a good chance that they'll probably run him. But I just think he's in a race that's really ultra competitive, where a lot of people have tipped up different things, and they're all kind of 6, 7, 8s. This feel like 20s is just more interesting.
And the other
And now
one,
everyone's going running no bet, so you can get it back, and you're only
yeah.
waiting a week now. You're not tying up your money long run anyway. So
And the other one, I think that I've backed him for every other handicap other than this is Wingman. If he gets, he's 17 for this, he'll
yeah,
get in no bother. He potentially could maybe need further in time, and maybe as a horse, maybe they might keep behind for Ireland if he's going to have a crack at the Trainers' Championship. But I could see him running well. He's got a good weight of 142. He's got form in behind Cade Doughty in Final Demand. I think he's potentially one that could go in under the radar, but. I think if Cocktail Divan goes here, I think I've not backed him yet, and I won't touch him at 9 to 2 the now. But if it goes here, I think there's a lot of confidence in Slade Steel might be an option. But again, I'm just going on the fact is he's won a Supreme. I just don't. They've tried him. I think they've tried every single trip under the sun over fences. Is he just a bit tripless? But if he goes here, I think he's got a chance. Nothing really else is jumping out at me this race. I think there's a lot of springers in here that might be gooder on the day, but I wouldn't have backed Caldwell Potter on a month of Sundays for this last year.
no,
And
but I mean, again, you could kind of see that kind of. He's a back class horse, a real back class horse. Cocktail Divan, all these kind of classy horses. And I do think Kissfield's kind of that bracket. Wingman is, Cocktail Divan is, Regent Still would be to a degree. So you would need to be. I would kind of identify. Meet Me by the Sea could well be. He's definitely well handicapped, but is he kind of? You're looking for kind of. And the template last season, which was only kind of one last season, is what is really kind of a horse that could cut it in kind of grade 2 company stuff. That's got a reasonable mark. So yeah, but it's a brutal race.
right, we'll move into the Mares Hurdle run on the Thursday instead of the Tuesday and run on the new course. And Lossiemouth is going for 3 in a row at even money. Voodoo 5 to 4 again. Non-runner, no bet prices. Brighter Days Ahead 9 to 4. Jade de Grugy 5 to 1. 10 to 1 bar. Callum, I'm going to start here. I think if Lossiemouth runs, she wins. If Lossiemouth doesn't win, Voodoo wins, and I think it's dying in behind.
Yeah, I think Lossiemouth's vulnerable either way. She runs. I don't. I think if she runs here, I think they're not 100% happy with her, and I think if she runs to the champion, I think they are quite happy with her. That's kind of the reading that I've got from these very cryptic updates that we get. But I mean, there's a lot of confidence going on Alexia about Wood too, and she was only 2.5 off Lossiemouth last day, and she's a young horse coming up. She's a year younger. She's hardy. She's got course and distance form in the new course, the Martin Pipe, where she won that really well, carrying a lofty weight. It's a race that tends to work out at this grade. She's proven herself towards this grade. She dug it out on pretty unfavourable weight terms the last day when she had a cut in her leg and still toughed it out. And it was a testament to her tenacity in that young, coming up from Handicap company into pitching up against Lossiemouth at Aintree and getting within 2.5 lengths. It's a hell of an effort, and there might be signs that Lossiemouth is slowing down a bit. Don't think she's improving. And she had a hard race at the Irish, a really hard race by the looks of it. She's kind of bouncing up and down after the last, never really getting there. And just the fact that in the build up to this, she's never really been crazy short for this, has she?
No, not really.
There's just a little weakness anywhere she is. With all this kind of non-runner, no bet stuff going out for a long, long time, you just think that, like fact to file for the Ryanair, you just think she'd be flung in at a price and think, oh, well, she'll turn up and win. Just not getting that impression. And this is a better race than it was last year. Well, the second favourite's better than the second favourite last year. And the fact that Jade de Grugy is still quite short suggests that she might run here anyway, which wouldn't give you maximum faith in Lossiemouth at the top. So Lossiemouth will go in, get Bartlett in 46, and maybe get 5-2, go 2 and just chance it. Because I think she might not beat Lossiemouth, but I think she could trouble her. I saw it at Aintree, and she could get closer here. And the Elliott camp have been quicker to put her up as a nap of the meeting than Teahupoo, for instance, and horses like that. And they really kind of have a lot of trust in her. So if there's a chink there, could be exploited, and there could be one. So I might back Voodoo.
Okay, I think it just depends how she's come out of that. Vibe seems to be pretty good. Voodoo, I think I've actually been very impressed with the fact that she's been in trouble both times this season and came out very well and actually won pretty well. She travels to the line really, really well. And going into a graded race against Lossiemouth last at Aintree after winning a Martin Pipe, I thought she ran an absolute storming race that day. I think it is just a case these are leaps and bounds clear of these, and I think Lossiemouth will just do it for a bit of toll, and I think if Lossiemouth goes champion hurdle, Voodoo will win this comfortably as well. I don't think there's anything else. I think this is actually going to be similar to maybe like the year kind of Benny did you? Like, do you know what I mean? Like they're just leaps and bounds clear.
Unless they're all much of a muchness, like the year Honeysuckle won it, where there was a bit of depth, or there's not an obvious one that should be going the champion hurdle. Then like kind of Marie's Rock or a Black Tears could win it, or even a Roxana can win it with a mishap or something like that. Or you get 3 good mares like when Apple's Jade won it, for instance, that couldn't really go champion hurdle route. The thing is, this race has been dominated by a horse that really could have went this route, and it's having a detrimental effect in the programme. It's making this uninteresting, and it should be the Mayor's Chase is a grade 2, the Mayor's Novices is a grade 2. This should be a grade 2.
Okay, but you fancy Voodoo, and I think Lossiemouth will beat Voodoo, and I think if Lossiemouth goes champion hurdle, Voodoo will win this. So we'll move on swiftly to the Stayers hurdle, and for the 4th year in a row, Teahupoo is the favourite, and he is sitting at 2-1. Gordon Elliott's Honesty Policy at 4-1. Cabrel de Matanit's 4s. Last year's winner, Bob Ollinger 5s. Machan 2 6s. You like to say Ballyburn, Imposed Twat 10s, and 16-1 bar. Teahupoo, 4th year in a row, Callum. He's won it once. Probably put in one of his best performances at Christmas. Where do you stand with him?
Yeah, I like this horse. I think he gets knocked for no reason whatsoever. And I think he'll win again. I think he'll win this again. I think there's been excuses. 2 times he's been beaten. A Horlicks of a ride, first time by Davy Russell. The second one, Jack Kennedy was half fit. He was stood down after that, and a lot of people don't take that into account, that Gordon Elliott's jockeys were not fit last season. Apart from Danny Gilligan, they just weren't. And he couldn't. Particularly in a grinding steer, you need to keep the revs up. Well, you've got to be as fit as a horse, really. Particularly for a lazy type, we've got to keep knuckling down to find. So they just didn't go hard enough. Tactically went wrong, and he's been picked up by the only kind of pacey, classy horse in racing, Bob Ollinger. If you really want the obvious mug bet here, is that these will be the top 2 again, and by some way, the rest are rubbish. Rubbish. These are £10 better than the rest of these. Honesty Policies this year's the Wall Park, and they put 9 lengths between them and third. Cabrel de Matan won't stay. Machan 2 and Imposed Twat, yeah, they're all right horses, but through strong leader, you know what they are. The top 2, the Rob Core pair, reverse forecast, clean up.
Okay, you can see that. My bet in this race is I've obviously got Imposed Twat, big prices back in the day, and again, I think if they'd had their day again, they wouldn't have went to the Cleve, and I think he would probably be roughly maybe 4-5-1 here. My bet in the race is, and I match bet Imposed Twat to beat Machan 2. It's the only thing I'm very confident is going to happen here. My worry slightly with Teahupoo is horses in this type of race, after they put in a career best like that, is there a possibility they bounce? We've seen it before.
It's been off for 74 days. If
he
did it at the DRF, if there's no Stayers race at the DRF, no, he won't. He'll be fine. He's one of the most consistent horses around. He's won 14 of his 21 races. His form figures are 1-1-1, 2-2, 1-1-1, 4-3, 1-1. You know, two blotouts when they tried to make him a champion hurdler at Punchestown and Cheltenham inexplicably 6th and 9th, and then 1-1-1-2-1-1-1. What do you want him to do? And he's 94. If they go an even gallop, go relative. The only thing that can beat him is last year's tactical scenario, where if they go too
Yeah,
slow and he gets mugged. That might happen here because if they don't send Honesty Policy forward, who's ridden patiently instead of a big break, he's young. It might be a year too soon for him. Same degree to Calvin Matan. I think you can't. And remember, a lot of people tip up like Lucky Place, for instance, horses like that. They just don't get home.
nah.
I just can't see it with him yet. I think this is maybe just a step up too much. Marchand too, Emma Lavelle's record is to be respected in it and is on the upgrade. It's a horse that I've liked all the time. And when it won the Pertums qualifier, I think I was hoping it would be put away for the Pertums straight away because it would hack up in it. They haven't. They've obviously gone through the grades and it's into a 150s territory. But when they come against the Irish, who have had, let's be honest, an absolute iron grip in this race since Paisley Park retired, and unless the guy Oscar popped up, they've comfortably dictated this, and Teahupoo's the one that's consistently still turned up, consistently there. There's a few more interesting rivals this year, but they've still got plenty to find. I think they've got at least £10 to find with these top two, and the top two, the Rob Coeur. It's just a case of how tactically it runs. If it's stamina laden, Teahupoo will win no matter what the ground. I don't think the ground's an issue. I think that's another absolute fabrication about this horse of what goes in ground. Two of his best performances at Leopardstown, Punchestown have been in very good ground. So that's a nonsense. I hope he wins because I think he gets consistently disrespected for no reason because he's winning in a weak division, really. So I hope he wins it. I hope Bob Owens is second, but Bob Owens' festival record just, I'm amazed he's not second favourite. He might well be in the day, but I think they're still the two. There's young interest in this rivals there, but I think they've got a lot to find.
The one I can't see winning is Cabrel de Matan. I just can't see that. They've kind of went round every single race. I don't think this has been initially the plan.
4 quarters here as a foot up potentially for the Grand National. Now I know he's got not a much chance, but he's the type of horse that you're looking at the race is well, he's going to go forward and he's going to go at Harley Run. So I mean, give him a bit pacing at home. I believe he takes his chance. He won't pacing at Hewick. If he's got any chance, he won't pacing it. So it's what kind of horse is going to take their chance here to inject stamina into the race, or maybe go to the front and try and make it a speed race. So tactically, it'll be fascinating to see how it unfolds.
Mm-hmm. But my bet in the race is Impose Trois to beat Ma Shantu. I think that's the only kind of confident play I'm going to have in the race. Two handicaps on Thursday. We've got the Pertemps final and the Kim Muir Challenge Cup. Mind if I go first?
No, go away. Yeah, fire away. Yeah.
Everybody and their dog is lumping on Supremely West for the Pertemps final, and I really like the owner. I hope they have a good day out, but I think this is absolutely no chance. Not backing a horse. It's 4 runs and been hauled into the steward's room more than once, bled several times. I think punters are backing the wrong horse here. I think Says Different is far better value here. 2 wins last 2 runs, just a steady improver. Sam Thomas has never had a Cheltenham Festival winner as a trainer. I think this horse is a different league to Supremely West. I am extremely confident this horse wins. Supremely West is 135. Again, nothing against the owner. Wouldn't be for me at all. Just too many. Basically, you're backing this because it's Dan Skelton and this is exactly what they do. I'm not having this at all, Supremely West. Again, nothing against the owner, but not for me in the slightest. And Kim Muir, similar. Jericho de Repine for me is absolutely no chance. If this was a hurdle race, be all over him. No chance in a festival over fences. 145, not for me at all. Waterford Whispers, if he gets in here, is a good chance. I think he's 137 again. De Bromhead, put Barry O'Neill on him, or even get Gleeson on him. Get somebody on him, a good amateur who's going to come in here, get him to settle a bit better. I think he's got a good chance. Kim Rock's quite interesting if he goes here as well. I think going up on trip might be the right move. But for me, my story of the Thursday is in the last 2 races, take on Supremely West and take on Jericho de Repine, and Says Different will beat Supremely West.
Interesting. She said Different. It's actually won one of these qualifiers, which is usually Usually,
I think that's
that's
the
out
way
of
it is
doom,
now.
but
I think they have
we,
to now.
yeah, the way they won the market.
And the thing is, as
The
well, the
market, he's the one, the
the
fourth is
weights
one
are
of
going to
them.
change. The weights are going to change as well because Impostoir is going to get taken out, and the weights are going to change completely in this. And again,
Yeah,
that's just another
a lot of people getting
negative for
it.
Supremely West. Aye.
You can see the gamble on it. It doesn't inspire me. At least you've got opinions in those two races, because this is some of the least interesting stuff of the week for me. Thought Manila Emperor would have a chance at Mullins. I thought that looked better than it did at Haydock. I think they're going to get jiggy with it to kind of protect the mark. I think it's more interesting than Melbourne Shamrock. Bolden Devils, £10 lower for Nicky Henderson's switch. Probably only one of the very, very few horses that actually ran well at that year where it's a whole yard went missing. They ran him. He placed at like 80-1 or something. He's £10 lower here. I know he's a veteran stage, but old horses can win it before. 10-year-old. It's one of the easier horses to win. Letos is a squeak for Tony Mullins. It's been the plan for a long, long way. Other outsiders look pretty thin in the ground and uninterested. I think that's why the top two are backed us accordingly. That, I mean, you can see absolutely Doyen keeps winning quite well for Nichols. Might be the one. Saw him at Musselbury, looked pretty good. Didn't really get much of a hype for that, if any. So don't know what his ceiling is. You can see why he's third favourite. So no opinion in that. And yeah, I was slightly leaning towards Waterford Whispers and the Kim Muir. I just think that it might all be coming together for him. And I think Jericho De Repre might find it tough giving him £8. I know they both have thinks about it, don't they? I mean, it might be a kind of, you can see them being good enough to just fight out the finish and try and gift it to one another, really. But yeah, Jericho De Repre won't be for me. He can have his chance at the Pertomps, he Fluff, probably a bit of a lesser race. And yeah, but the seconds rack up with him, don't they? And he's going to be cheap pieces. He can be awkward. He can kind of get to the roots of them, and he ain't I know the way you're thinking class either. And he's got his shoulder top weight, so wouldn't be for me. It looks like the third favourite's going to go Leinster National route. Daily Present's coming back to have another go at it. Paul Nolan, not too high in the weights, could have a go at it. Kim Rock tanked into it as the best in the race at the DRF last time and just didn't get home in the bad ground. If it's similar ground, he might suffer the same thing here. So I'd imagine he need a very good ride out the back and weight. But he's a strong, powerful traveller. I'm not sure I would go here. I'm actually relieved to see him that he's not in the plate. I've got to say, I think he's quicker than a lot of people give him credit for. So, and Prens Garde Trois has been tipped up for Elliott as their kind of Milan native type. So it's a race where I'm just shortlisting away. But yeah, that's about it.
Okay, well, let's move into the Friday, and we'll start with the Triumph Hurdle. Well, obviously, Narciso has been ruled out. It was, I think, a bit of a bummer for both of us because I think we're both excited to see him. But Willie Mullins has the top two in the betting here. Proactive 3-1, Selma Davari 4-1, Maestro Conti 13-2, Macho Man sevens, Monge 2 sevens. I don't think she's going. Manila Study sevens 12-1 bar. Callum, bit of a bummer when I see so harsh, but one thing it's opened up is this race because it's a very tough race to call at the moment.
Yeah, but I mean, the owner and trainer have an able deputy in Proactive. He was the one that's been touted to go to Supreme, wasn't he? Yeah, he'd have been, what price is he here? 72. He'd probably been about 14, 16's chance in the Supreme, but he did it well, and he does look pretty good, and that form between him and Macho Man might be the line to take from this, particularly if Paul Townend picks Macho Man over Selma Davari, which seems to be the rumour. And they promise a lot of improvements from Selma Davari when second to Narciso has. She's had a lot of experience in France. I'm maybe not as convinced that there will be that much as people think there. I think the favourite's the right one. I think it's a chance. I think I'll probably back him, to be honest. I don't think the British form's there. Historically, it's just not there. The Willie Mullins battalion, and particularly in a race of this nature, it's just so hard to oppose. And even horses like Charm Divorced, Mon Crusade, Majolique, Manila Academy, they're just coming in. Moulin Lab, they're all coming in. Apollon de Charnay, horses that you've never heard of, and you're puff, some of them, are just coming in. He's going to have 6 or 7 again. He's going to take out by stealth, but I do think the favourite's the right one, and maybe Macho Man would be second favourite, but it's hard to pose on that stealth. I think Manila Studies maybe a bit better than Maestro Conti.
Okay.
But he does have good kind of course, and both have good course and distance form. Both will run their race, maybe a bit like East India Dock did.
Mm-hmm.
But are they going to develop into top notchers next season? You'd have your doubts. The percentage call is that at least one of Willie Mullins will probably go on to do bigger and better things, and they'll probably show it on the day of the triumph.
Yeah, Proactive, a lot of respect. I actually quite like that race. Obviously, I've tipped up Quinta de Lago for the Boodles, who
Yeah.
was third in the race behind Proactive and Macho Man. I can see Macho Man improving. There's a lot of hype him, and obviously there was a good report for him in France as well. Selma Devari's interesting. Again, thought she ran fairly well first time out. There's a bit of Masborough about her in terms of improving for her first run. I think I'd maybe play Macho Man. Just think he could improve. Moncruse, Willie Mullins says his name. Nobody's ever heard of him. Next thing he's 12-1.
Yeah, so triumph hurdle for you. I mean, he's won
It's,
for a race that he never really won. He's won 5 of the last 6 now. The last British winner of this was Pentland Hills in 2019.
mm-hmm.
Okay, you could argue Goshen was going to win it. And Burning Victory won it 2020, but
It was Penland Hills, not Sir Eric. Is that not Sir Eric year? And Burning Victory was Goshen year.
Goshen was Burning Victory year, yeah. So, and he never really won it. I mean, Farkle was beating like Mr. Adjudicator and horses like that. So, I mean, but it's just, the Triumph has just been a showcase of, he's won the last 4 with horses that maybe barring Ponyros, but he's got time to do it with horses that have gone on to a lot of good things. Marlborough, Lossiemouth, Vauban, very good horses, and they've beaten other good horses of him. Cargeese, the likes of that.
Any of his horses could win this. We saw that last year.
So it's just a kind of showcase for the Willie Mullins kind of first dibs, kind of at French breds, kind of really thing private sales. It's just so hard to pose, and it's hard enough to find the right one with them. I do think the market's probably latched on to the right one and the right line with Proactive. So Proactive main, maybe Macho Man's cover because he could improve for that run as well.
Yeah, I think Macho Man or Selma Devari, and I could see actually that one at a big price who could go quite well. I think Kai Long obviously beating Moncrusette last time. Moncrusette's price is completely gone, but I think Kai Long was one that was well thought of. Had a few races in France, obviously, in the flat, decent pedigree as well. Like I can see him running quite well, but again, it's Willie Mullins. Anything could win this. But the only other one I could see maybe interesting if they do go here, I think the reports are they're going to go here is Winston Junior. I could see him in an each way play. I actually think he could run better here than he does. I think he's just been weighted out the Boodles, to be honest.
Yeah, possibly. But it's just the market kind of is pointing you to the usual suspect.
Nice. Yeah. Right, let's move into the Mayor's Chase, where last year's winner, Dino Blue, is 6-4, Spindleberry 7-2, Panic Attack 4-1, Diva Luna in here at 7s, Only by Night, the Big Westerner, Jade de Grugy, you've got July Flower and Cala Conti as well. Is there an argument this is the best ever renewal of this race if the majority of these turn up? I remember it being as stacked as this. That's a good renewal.
Yeah, certainly better than the last couple. It's certainly stronger than last year's. We
Last
nearly
year's,
knew
yeah.
second time around wasn't bad. Concertista tried it, Mount Ida tried it,
Mm-hmm.
LME tried it. It was a bit more kind of interesting betting wise. It probably is. There's a bit more depth, but it should be improving as a new kind of race. The allegory of Acid, Blue and Limerick Lace when they were kind of ducking it out. River de Tail was there as well. So yeah, it's a little bit classier now. I think it's getting there. It's getting there. It's 6th edition.
Dino Blue, potential to go
Yeah, I
back to
mean,
back.
the thing is, she won this at 64 last year, and this is just a bit harder, isn't it? And you'll have to take the same price, and she's a year older, and probably might get faster ground. So it's not a lot to get enthused about the price, but she's still the most likely winner. She's had the same prep. She's been mapped out for it well. Spindleberry had to give her a couple of pounds and had to bounce back from that kind of maybe a bit of a culture shock in the Irish Gold Cup. Panic Attack's progressing through the ranks really well. Might outsteer potentially. Only by Night would be the speed horse in it. Diva Luna could be anything but missed her intended prep race and does have a bit to find. And Jade de Grugy might come here and might not. And July Flower isn't bad. And Calaconti's staying at home, and the rest are probably a bit too exposed. in behind. Yeah, like last year, it was quite very, very sweet and Dino Blue, mainly because of prep. And again, I'm still there with her as well. I think just about.
I think if Spindleberry didn't go to the Gold Cup, I would be all over her for this. But it's just how she came out of that, and I thought within minutes, her card was marked in that race. I just thought this is completely the wrong solution here,
It's one of
and
those late in the week where the market might tell you where to really go, really
yeah,
towards the end. Like they did, there was a big plunge for Limerick Lace, wasn't there, when
mhm.
she turned over Dino Blue when the rain came, vice versa when Limerick Lace could have walked and Dino Blue get back to the year before, and there was no real confidence behind Allegory Devassi. Could have took a walk and did a thing at the hill when Impervious can beat her. So I mean, it's been plundered in the last 4 years by GP Paint Maris, its horse. And I think it probably will again.
And I'm going to give a big mention here for a horse that finished third in the Mayor's Novice last year. And I think this season in Britain, I don't think there's many performances that have been as good in novice chases as Diva Luna's was in the Mayor's Novice at Bangor at the start of the season. I thought she jumped superbly. I think she'll be absolutely fine with this trip. I think she's I think she's the one here that I think she's the best of the British. Quite comfortable. I think she's better than Panic Attack. I think she's got more improvement than Panic Attack. Obviously, she's 3 years younger. Spindlebrae I was fancying all season until the Irish Gold Cup, but now I think Diva Luna. I think Diva Luna's the one to be on here.
Interesting what they do. I mean, it's just the misprep, and you're coming into Grade 2 company against, I know what Dina Blue is, but she is a rock solid mid
Yeah,
155. She just hasn't put anything near that figure. But I tell you what, she jumps really, really well as her fences, and if she can force a mistake, then yeah, she's in it, because definitely stayed at Warwick, jumped beautifully, made all looks grade 1 to 4 and entitled to do so. Bangers, who's very impressive, beat Joyce
Hammered
easily,
Joyous.
who's high
Yeah,
class. Okay, she wasn't a natural, and she's kind of not really kicked on to what she should do. Didn't really back up her Mayor's Novice's effort at Aintree, where she was kind of disappointing. Just far too keen. I think she was lame that day as well, when 7th of 9, so possible excuse. Just missing that. Is there just a little kind of hole in her, and are they going to take their time with her? But she's the most interesting and exposed young horse in the race. Maybe July Flower is as well. Be aware. Start the season again. Like Henry de Bromhead was kind of like, and they were kind of thinking, is this kind of like put the kettle on Mark II a little bit, where just improves her fences a little bit and can take them out. It seemed to be going here with her, which allowed the Big Westerner to go to the Browns. She's got some decent form. Just didn't quite fire in the festival and the Mares hurdle last time, but there's a bit of rain forecast at the end of the week, and she jumps quite efficiently and well. And these are better quality of opponents than what Dina Blue was facing this time last year. And you're asked to take a same price about her. So, yeah, all she's a one to beat, you'd expect her to win. As we've pointed out, there are threats there. Panic Attack
that's a
is. I mean, I know no 10-year-old, but she's pretty unexposed, and
she's very much progression. Yeah.
she's definitely worth a shot in this grade. And I can see why she's popular. And you can see why she's even been tipped for Grand National potential, and Spindleberry could bounce back. So only by night if she stays. There's 4 or 5 imminently in behind there that he can make a formulate a case for.
I think it's a very good race, and we'll see what happens. We'll move into the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle. We've got Dr. Steinberg at 3-1, the Devil 4-1, no drama this end, and Spinning Yarn around 8s and 9s, Apache Tribe 12s, Espresso Milan 12s, and 16-1 bar. Dr. Steinberg has beaten the Devil Uno, came out and won the Grade 1 at the DRF quite comfortably. Callum, I don't fancy much at the top of the market. I think the top of the market's there to be got at, to be honest. And it's a race that the top of the market you can take on and do quite well in most years.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been no winning favourite this in a decade. For 33-1 winners, 18-1 winners twice, 14-1, 50-1,
50-1 winner that won the Gold Cup.
33, 16s, 11s, 16s that won the stairs. Yeah, 5-1, 6-1 to two shortest, and they were Monkfish and Yasmin DeVoe. So
Hmm.
It's a race that's normally ball over, and it's shaping up like that again, isn't it? Really, I mean, Dr. Steinberg. We'll go off the right favourite. Won that race at the DRF, which the Van Glacier, which was terrible. But he did it and took it out in good style. You can only do what you can do. Muller a bad field, and he did. But he was very keen. The hill, is he going to be allowed to dominate here in a much bigger field, deeper race with horses that are much more interesting behind? I think he probably uphold the devil, form. I think we know what he's all about as well. He's had 4 runs, he had a lot of experience. Dr. Steinberg's had 5, a lot of experience, but he's still quite keen. But they're there to improve past. It's as simple as that to me, and I can't get away from it, even though they've got the best form in the race. But spinning a yarn is one, Espresso Milan's another. Apache Tribe could be anything that saw it air that
Another
hacked
horse
up.
that run at air.
Yeah, air form to the fore again. So two will be interesting if he came here. Kazansky, even Gordon Elliott alluded that he wanted to run the Martin Pike this. He was second to Dr. Steinberg, but just isn't good enough. Chitlon Dairy isn't reliable enough. The Flying King won't go. And then you're into kind of Fruit de Mer, Cryptic Gym, and King's Box, who are reasonable big prices. Moneygarrow is as well. Just question about his stamina. And Mandu Boy that Ben Pauling likes. So, and then you're into territory where there'll be others that will take their chance here. And it'll be interesting to various degrees. So it's one you can definitely take a swing at. The talk about spinning a yarn in Espresso Milan look pretty significant to me. They could be the two, and I wouldn't be surprised if they got a lot closer to the top 2 in the market on the day.
Okay. Spinning a yarn obviously is it made all last time out. Again, will he have the experience? I would be very interested if Declan Queally decided to reroute Al Shot that here. I think he would have a big chance in this.
Yeah,
All
they're running
reports suggest he's going to the Turners. I think he'd have a shot in this. The one that is jumping out to me for Willie Mullins, who I wouldn't have thought was going to be here at the start of the season, but looks every inch that he needs. I think he needs about 5 miles at this point. Is Dr. Duminil beat the devil, in a bumper at Cork in April. Was touted was as low as 6-1 for the Turners round about September time. Looked a boat the last 2 times we've seen him. I think if they step him up to 3 miles, I think he's potentially got a chance. He's still quite short in the bend. You'd want a bit bigger, but he's one that you could see could be a potential sleeper.
The horse that was second, that he was second to last time out, the Passing Wife. Gavin Cromwell's thinking about supplementing, and he's done this with Vanilli.
Mm-hmm.
That would have a chance. That
Could
would
do,
come in
yeah.
about 10. That would come about the 10, 11 to 1 bracket.
Yeah.
I just think that's the kind of area of the market to kind of really shop in. Just in behind the top 2, I think you've got leading candidates from top stables all around here. It's definitely a race where you can take a couple each
Mhm.
way against the top 2.
I'm going to take King's Box. I think again he's coming in 66-1 a palm now, 25-1. You can get in places. Been given a couple of good mentions. Was given a very good mention, I think, by Robbie Power in a preview. He was given a very good mention, so keep an eye on him. And one at a potentially wild price if they do go here, who I can see being interested in is Shuttle Diplomacy. If they go here, now
In
he
Turners, aren't they?
obviously. Well, I don't know. I don't know. There was talk. What I saw things Brian Cooper saying potentially here, and then there was another thing saying Turners. But I think he's got a chance of going up in trip. Don't think again beat Arcadian Emperor pretty well, who was quite high touted. He was in that race with Sir Tudo as well back in November. I can see him potentially get up in trip, been a good shout. But the one, if you were to say who are you going with at the top of the market, I really hope they reroute. I'll sort that here, and I think King's Box each way. And if they decide to take Shuttle Diplomacy here, it could be in with a shout. But I think you could pick
Yeah.
anything. Stellar Story won this at 50-1,
I, I,
33-1.
I would
Like,
kind of probably back the Passing Wife if it was supplemented. I
yeah,
think that'd be significant. You know, we'll have an inflating Martin, the Martin Piper 143. Now, to me, if you run to that, I think you'd win this. I mean, at the top
yeah,
of that,
possibly, yeah.
I think it's bad. I think it's a bit of a bun fight. If you can, that's why everyone's trying to dig one out. Just another novice, Road Exile. I think he's going Tunnels, but I quite like him for that as well. He was a kind of fly at the price. He just, I mean, I've backed him for it as well. So I mean, I just think he wasn't seen to best effect in the Moscow Flyer.
Yeah,
I
needs
think
rubber,
it's
didn't
over. They just went. so slow in a crawl up front. But he was heavily backed, and he's been campaigned in those kind of right races of top Gordon Elliott novices, and he's one that could pop up with Gigginstown at a price. But that's Turner's though, rather than the Bartlett. But there's plenty to consider. If they go too slow, Money Garrow would have a chance. Cryptic Jim is underrated, for the
Yeah.
Tizard. It could turn into like a weird Kilbrick and Storm year where they won it. I mean, it's a race that's going to be dangerous to categorically kind of go and rule anything out.
Well, let's move into the final race we're going to preview in depth, which is the Cheltenham Gold Cup, and it's an absolute stormer this year. Gaelic Warrior, Jangle Bay, Jukebox Man, and the King George are all 5-1 at the moment. Last year's winner, I know the way you're thinking, 13-2. Galloping Deschamps going to win his third at 7-1, along with Haiti Kalua. The likes of Spillans Tower, Grey Dawning, and 25-1 Bar. A very good renewal, isn't it, if they all turn up?
Absolutely. No, it's even a top race. I mean, the fact that he can kind of make cases for the top
Almost
9 in the
everything.
market, probably.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I mean, obviously it's who's going to turn up. I'm going to be presuming that Factifile won't.
Well, he's not in the beta. Yeah, I didn't even think.
I think he'll go Ryanair. That's why we kind of just practically bypass the Ryanair because it's a farce
We
of a
missed the
race.
Ryanair, didn't we?
Yeah, well, we don't need to talk about it because it's a farce of a race. I mean, it should. That's another thing. It should be agreed to. In fact,
Do you know why that is? Because it's usually before the stairs, and I've just assumed the stairs is last, and
yeah,
then we
it's
move
another
on.
kind of schedule change. It just
Doesn't make sense.
annoys punters. But I mean, the fact of file, all the mood music seems to be going there. He's the shortest price of the week now, and he's just going to, if he's ridden anywhere
So you're
forward,
saying the Ryanair's cut and dry, fact to file goes and wins.
yeah, it's going to, yeah, boom.
Yeah. Right. That's for Ryanair preview, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move on to the Gold Cup.
Yeah, well, I mean, the only Ryanair preview is that it shouldn't be there, or if it should be there, it'd be agreed to. Like the Lossy debacle. If you want to run in a Mickey Mouse intermediate race, go to Fairyhouse or Aintree. But if you do want a Cheltenham runner, well, it'll be agreed to. And you've got to carry a Grade 1 penalty, and let's get Grade 1 horses and Grade 1 races. That's what I would say. But on to the Gold Cup, where Factifel should be running, and it isn't. The Irish Gold Cup winner won't be here for some reason.
Would you back him for the Gold Cup if he went?
No, because I don't think he would stay. So they're going the right way. But yeah, after all that, he shouldn't be here. It'd be a blockbuster if he did. Yeah, and he does with this. Maybe the kind of wee hole about the Ryanair is, he does follow one good run with a bad run, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
He's on a good one. He's on a good one, and he might come out with a bad one. So maybe they'll stomach. Maybe the kind of Mooney and Swede team will actually have the stomach to kind of ask and actually go the Ryanair when Perry Pass and Laurie's colours. But we shall see. Yeah, I mean, the King George top 4 are going to be here. Some of them won't. Some of them will. Banbridge won't be. And to me, Jangle Bay was the one as a Gold Cup horse to take out of that race. Badly positioned, out the back, kind of losing lengths a little bit. It was happening maybe just a shade too quick from probably the youngest inexperienced horse in the race. Learning in the job and was finishing off best of them and was definitely going to be on their heels in 1 or 2 strides later. And I can see why he's been 5-1, 6-1 really ever since the top of the market. Yeah, it's not a lot of value there, but if he improves like I think he can from that and brush up his jumping a little bit, I think he will get that trip. He looked like he would. I think he'd be absolutely fine. I think he can reverse the form with the Jukebox Man there. Wouldn't want the rain to come for him. I think he like quick ground, but I think if it all comes right to him, I think the normal. If they go a different gallop, they'll surely go a stronger pace a little bit. I think that'll suit him more. Jukebox Man's every chance. Like he dances every dance. He does look the part. He's a very impressive jumper of a fence. You've got to say he's very clean, and solid. He's a reliable one at the top of the market. Did have an issue where he could have missed the whole season really of his novice race campaign. It's not held him back. He's unbeaten, 4 over the big sticks, and yeah, I mean the way he won the King George where he rallied for pressure, he could do that again. If he's still there in the firing line, he could fend them off. Galloping Deschamps, I'm a bit worried for him, to be honest. The ground's not coming for him, is it?
I can
10.
see him. I can see him running the way. Do you remember when Cottle Star the last year of? Oh, he would win the King George, but then in the Gold Cup, he would travel really well into it and just check out quite late. So I could see happening here. Just
Yeah.
like I think he's one of
I
the
think,
best.
I think the
Like
problem in here is how's he going to dominate and make this a
I don't
real
think that. I'm
official
trying.
test? And it's
I think Kalu's makes the running. By the way,
and it's not going to be heavy ground, is it?
no.
Horticola will try if he's got the tactical speed to get to the front. He's a kind of
Yeah.
clean jumper a little bit. Is he classy enough? Possibly, but I think there's others in there. Gaelic Warrior is, and he'd have a right chance, but you know who's on board.
Would you be annoyed if I know the way you're thinking won this? Would it
Yeah,
annoy you?
it would. It would. I hope he doesn't, but yeah, I mean, it's just a farce, isn't it? Absolute
Nah,
farce.
yeah, I don't. You
What's
can't
going
back
on
him.
there? A bit of sin in the back. Yeah, okay. Yeah, first time he's going to get good ground probably. So there's mitigation for that, but even in December, the ground was pretty decent, and you're just expecting a Gold Cup winner to show a little bit more. And even last season, at least when he was supplementing for it, he was showing gradual signs of improvement. He's not really been doing that this year. You know, in any kind of, he took it to a tired fall at the end. He could come back, but you could argue that last year's race was pretty weak. You know, Galopin Deschamps didn't turn up. He was
Comfortably second, yeah.
still comfortably second to the rest, who are gone at the game, aren't they? Really, let's be honest, in behind. This is better. Let's get younger kind of connections. You know, Gaelic Warriors, high class, and if he can get him to settle out the back and plod on, and he could easily win this.
Can I throw a name at you?
Go on,
Envoy Allen.
too old. 12. And he's got no chance of staying the trip, has he?
I don't think he's any chance of staying the trip, but it'd be some story if he got anyway, even close.
Remarkable. Yeah, it'd be remarkable. And, you know, down Royal, we went 3 miles, we looked better than ever, beat Affordale Fury, and Affordale Fury's come out
And they said immediately, we'll
one.
keep him for the Gold Cup. We'll keep
You
him.
know,
This
the
is our
Sal's
last
goes
hurrah.
fresh. You know what he can do, and yeah, if he runs in it, he runs in it. He's entitled to a chance in it. He ran really well. A couple of Ryanair's back in the day, you know, third last year, second 2 years ago, and then won it in 2023. So why not? Fling? There's only one Gold Cup. It's a good sporting decision, unlike some have made. I mean, Spillane still looked good in the Cotswold Chase, but Lone Press didn't really run his race, and that form looks a bit windy, and historically it's not a good trial.
Grade on him.
Could run well. I mean, he just banked one. You're not going to give him a hard race at that. You're going to treat it as a trial. And he looked good at Haydock, where Aplutard won that, didn't he? Where he kind of came out and then put in a similar kind of destructive performance here. So he could have an each way chance. Maybe he's been a bit too dismissed at 4 teams, but and there's a lot of depth at the front of the market. I would just marginally be in the Django Bay camp, but it's a puzzle I'm definitely going to largely leave right to the end. You know, what other kind of, I mean, even thought about running Nick Rocket in this. Maybe one of my Maximus might run in it instead of Grangeclere West, because Grangeclere West ran a little bit, will only be 3 weeks ago in the Bobby Joe, so he probably won't turn up. But I mean, they could just fling the dice with Iron Maximus as well. Monty Star run, I've not heard anything about that. Probably just leaving for the Grand National. Faster Slows there. He's probably had his chance, hasn't he now? You know, so
Firefox ran okay last time out again. Again, he's got
I
a
think
bit
they're
to fight.
going now.
Is
I
it?
think they're going now. Yeah, we have.
Okay.
I think that's the plan. They're kind of muted. And like you watch one of the Brown advisories, are hundreds and probably won't
Yes.
go. So I mean,
Brown advisory winners have have a pretty shocking record in this, actually. Like, they
yeah,
don't really get.
Manilindo was a runner-up in it, wasn't he? When he won it,
Yeah.
Album Photo went the intermediate race. So yeah, it's definitely one of them. But it's just a race now that's historically going to the younger brigades. And while the King George, I think, was a thrilling race to watch, they went ridiculously slow and it's hard to ascertain. But that doesn't mean they're not good horses. They are. I think that's why they're still just about hanging on at the top of the market, because Gallopin could win it, but I just think things are just. I just think there's too much going against them
It's
here and there.
more, it's more head, it's more heart ruling head into it. It's more you want this to happen.
Yeah, and I
Very
think
unlikely. Like,
that I think me. I know the way you're thinking is probably going to beat him as well, and I think the kind of the dark side's going to win that battle as well. So I mean, if it was tomorrow, I would back Jangle Bay, but again, it would definitely not be with any great confidence like a lot of these races that we've discussed tonight.
very hard. It's very hard. It's a very hard race. And last year, couldn't see Galloping the Champs getting beat, but I thought, I know the way you're thinking, he'll finish
He's the
close.
youngest, and he's strongly finished off from Arkle. Every time you see Jangle Bay, he finishes his races off really strongly. He's a touch of
Mm-hmm.
class. I think there's a lot of improvement to come with him. He's learning. He's the youngest. You're in the horses that are winning this. I know the way you're thinking: 7, Galloping Deschamps 8, 7, Applitard 8, Menelindo 8, Albion Photo 7 and 8, Size and John 7, Native River 8, Don Cossack 9.
And
He's the last 9 to win it.
it'd be a very interesting thing as well because Jangle Bay, I don't think an Arkle winner's ever won a Gold Cup. I can't, not recently anyway, but there's been a couple that went close. I know Kicking King obviously won a Gold Cup and went close in an Arkle, but I can't think of an Arkle winner. And he's not your stereotypical Arkle winner, is he? Especially the way he done it. Like, not many Arkle, not many horses are going to win an Arkle when they look as if they were pulled up at the third.
No,
Like,
but again, we've kind of alluded that Steers can kind of win it,
yeah.
can't they? I mean, it's been named after Arkle. He won 3 Gold Cups, didn't he? So yeah, I don't think anyone's done it.
I don't think so, but somebody, maybe one of our commenters can let us know. But I don't think there's a horse. I know the way you're thinking wouldn't be great, but when the market moves like that, it's very, very interesting. I think it'd be totally ridiculous, but you can see it happening. Not really much. Again, I've not got an absolute strong opinion. Gaelic Warrior, I think he's another Arkle winner. There's 2 Arkle winners here at the top of the betting.
Yeah, he won the Arkle. Yeah. I mean, a bit
And
like Final Demand style recovery for Gaelic Warrior, wouldn't you? Really? I mean, that's kind of the line.
the
Line.
problem with him though, he was very keen the last day, and if he's like that, he's no chance of staying this trip. Like, for me, the jukebox man again would be another. There's a lot of good stories in here. Rebecca Curtis winning a Gold Cup would be amazing as well. Spillane Tower, Jimmy Manning, like so many stories in here. But the one story that really would really annoy me would be I know the way you're thinking.
Yeah, it's been done to death. I just hope it doesn't happen.
I don't have a concrete view on this. I'd love to see Galloping the Shops, man. I just can see him running well to a point, and then I don't think it'll be like a stage where he'll pull up, and that'll be. I think he'll run well, and something will just go by him. Jangle Bay again. Totally see where you're coming from. There's just so many clues in here. It's so hard. It's such a hard race. It's one of the hardest races. It's one I can't remember a Gold Cup being as classy and as difficult to point out as this.
That's one of those really, really, really good open years, and you hope they all get there, and I hope they all run well. And you could have like a thrilling kind of King George-esque finish, but run at a kind of proper pace. It's an old-fashioned kind of take your pick from different kind of corners, really. A bit like the year Don Cossack won it. That just sticks down. It's a decade ago now, but Jack Adam, Don Pauly, Carlingford Loft, Phelan's Boy, Kukar that fell, but on his own, Smad Place. It's kind of horses that are coming from different strands. There'll be a big field here, and that should make it kind of reasonably truly run.
I think Gaelic Warrior will go off favourite, but I think it's going to be a very interesting race. But
Yeah, I actually think the way you're thinking might go off favourite.
Okay,
Or Galloping Deschamps. I just think public come back to the same kind of
public will
horses.
back Galloping the Champs. Yeah, I can
But
see
there
that.
might be good public money for the jukebox band story in the King. If the King George resonated with people and the younger horses, then you can see them going off, any of them. I mean, you could make a case for all of them. I think ground would probably debate. And who's having a good week and who isn't is going to matter a lot as well by that time.
Right, we've got 3 races on the Friday that we haven't covered. We've got the County Hurdle, the Hunter's Chase, and the Martin Pipe. Have you got any views on these?
Yeah, County Hurdle, I mean, it's whether Mercy is Cargeese Smart 2. I'd have my doubts. Cheltenham form being the main one. just isn't there. You know, I mean, Kyrgyz being second to Masvidal off 141 the season after is much better Cheltenham form than being eighth to put your hands together than a Fred Winter. Even though if you're doing the same thing at Aintree, but you know, she has been kind of maybe mapped out with that with three kind of soft runs this season, particularly the one at the DRF, where she was wide. Carabao looked good the last day in second, 150. It's quite high. Sinatra, I think, soft. I think Skelton's best horse has been ruled out of this early in the season. Rockdino probably go Martin Pipe. Anzadam, there has been rumours that he could come in here 157. I have my doubts. I think Work Ahead's interesting if he came here. I think
Okay.
he'd have a good chance. And I've been on Zillow all season. Hope he takes his chance. He'd just get in 138. I think there's a kind of hidden bigger effort in him all season. So yeah, and his form with Bones and Fire, where he's miles better off, has worked out quite well. But he's not been able to show it for different reasons. So yeah, there would be my two against the field in that race.
Okay, Hunter's Chase.
It's as uninteresting as the cross country for me, but one at a price that takes my HV would be Chemical Energy.
Okay.
He's
And
just been, you know, he's 10, but you know, he's just kind of irrelevant in these things. But he's 1-2 in the point-to-point field, and we know his course and distance form from back in the day. He was 6th actually in last year's cross country, where he ran all right off 143. And that's a mark that's imminently winnable off this if he's going to retain any sort of ability. He was second in the old National Hunt Chase, where the ground went against him. Beat by Garda Manil the year Malin Mission, I think, was going to dot up.
yeah,
So
that's right. Yeah.
we know he's a good stayer. And when he did have his good ground, he beat Malin Mission by 61 lengths in his novice. So Gordon Elliott will know that he's had C&D form. He's also been 8th in a Martin Pipe that Banbridge won. We know how good that form could be. So he's got the experience. He's just been kind of left away. He's won 2 point-to-points. He was midfield as early to Western Fold in a Galway plate in the summer of last year. So he's not been kind of out in the point-to-point field long. It suggests that he's obviously not the forcible because he's a hunter chaser now, but he's not far off it. And I think at the prices, I think he's pretty interesting because we know what the top two are going to do, Wonderwall and It's on the Line. And I think he's definitely got the back catalogue to beat them. I think he's a very good each price at 16s.
Okay, and Martin Pipe.
Martin Pipe, again, Elliott won the last two, so I hope Wenrock can go here. Probably one of my better moments in the show, 33s now into 16s. So declarations will come 5 days before it, so can't wait till he goes Coral Cup instead. It's pulled out for some race in Fairyhouse. It's worth a bit more money for the Trainers Championship, but well, him and he can't dance like be number one. They were in the same race. He pulled up, £5 hike. Hasn't had a hard time. They thought about running him a Per Tom's qualifier. Resisted that temptation because he won't stay 3 miles. This is what he likes. He can't dance. This is kind of plodding stamina related alternative. I think he's too slow. Wendrock is the Don Cossack. He can't dance as Don Poley, I think. But we'll see. I think they both get good chances here. There's an understandable move for either entitlement. I can see why. Quelle Histoire, Rockdino, EP Dom, the kind of Skelton Mullins gambles that people like in these races as well. So we'll respect their chance. I think they're short enough, and Rockdino's shown nothing. You know, it's total guesswork. He's a Kopek de me this year, isn't he? Total guesswork.
He could be absolutely thrown in.
He could be galloping Deschamps, or he could be absolutely hopeless. You have no idea. I paid him I think, is quite slow. I think he's a 3 miler, really. The way he won the last day, I think coming back in distance, I don't think it's him. Gail Histoire's a little bit unreliable, and Passing Life, who's long-term favourite, seems to be going Bartlett now, and you know the rest. Active, I thought it was second in it last year, but the rest will kind of struggle to get in this because it's a race that's just dominated by unexposed types at the top of the market now these days, really.
Right, County Hurdle. You can see Carb. I must say, I don't think she's as good as Kyrgyz. I don't think she's anywhere close to Kyrgyz. Sinatra, I can see him actually running quite well. 2 at a price in the the county hurdle. I think Mondo Man could be pretty interesting if they do go
He's
here.
running
55th
the
on the
Imperial
list.
Cup, isn't he?
Well, meant to be, yeah. I think there is a bonus though.
Yeah, I've got no chance of winning that in this, though, have you?
I think he'll probably go close in the Imperial Cup, but if he does go here, I think he's got a chance. Settled very well last time out, won at 1-7, so he's entitled to do that. And a couple of Fergals I'm going to put up in the next two races. I think Fergal has a decent chance in here with a horse called Serious Challenge, who is getting a wee bit of a move in the past few days. Was second behind Captain Hugo last week at Kelso, where was very keen in the race, but I thought made a good move. Was unlucky not to get there. I thought that was a good run, and he's off a mark of 132. He's unmoved, obviously, for last time. I think he would have got more if he got there, but I think he's got a good chance in here. And I think you could look at Mullins and Skelton absolutely dominate the race. There's 7 or 8 Mullins horses that could go here. Mercia, I don't think. Carbow, I think, is quite high. I'd throw Anzadam in here and just let him go and see what you've got. Go off 157, keep Patrick Mullins away from him, and see what you've got with him. I actually think strongly that this is it. It's on the lines year. He's been second in it 3 years in a row in the Hunter's Chase. Surely he is, but surely he's going to win this one day.
He might do a kind of what was it?
Billaway.
What was a Mullins horse here? Billaway that might eventually get over the line. He only won at Aintree, didn't he? Because it was loose horses that fell down in front of him.
But again, he won that day at Aintree by getting held up at the back. He
won because it was loose horses to chase to keep him up. He just doesn't win unless something like that happens, and he's got something loose to chase up top. He's just going to get, or he's Archibald-esque and nutted in the line.
And the other
he's a small one there. He's going to run his race. He's going to be close. Yeah. He's invariably going to be close. But
is Statler going under the radar in this? 10-1, 1-3. I know obviously ratings don't matter a job, but down to 137 now with Faye Bramley. Patrick Mullins, I think, will be on board, which again I'm saying in a bad thing in the last time, but I don't.
It's not a bad thing in an amateur race, is it?
He's not completely out.
Definitely one of the most experienced amateurs, and it's a bit like my chemical energy theory, isn't it? Really, this horse has got serious back class.
And Cheltenham winner.
And it's a race that's popped up, and it came to pass. Remember that popped up at 66. It's the nature of that race. I mean, there's a good word for Wrapped Up in May. It was Sam Curling's second string as well. Remember when Angel's Dawn get beat by Wonderwall? That's kind of the dynamic at play there. Well, maybe this one could actually pit Wonderwall. Panda Boy has got back class coming in here. Won his last 2 over point to points. I just think he might not stay. That'd be my kind of worry about him. There's a lot of options. Will it go ahead with Thalassy? That's kind of lost his way a little bit. So I think Chemical Energy is kind of the one that I'm drawn to there. But there's Great Unknowns won like 5 in a row or something. I mean, it's just we don't know how good he is because he's just been the point to point field. So even if he takes his chance, and there'll be some that'll just go to Aintree instead of here. But
yeah,
I mean, it's very difficult to get a hand on. But I mean, yeah, Statler's similar case to mine, really.
Rock Dino could be absolutely thrown in, but again, what do we know about him? Very little. I think Wendrock I can see running well. I think he's got a chance. I think if I was to go with a Mullins horse in here, it would probably be Jump Alain. I think is probably in this. I think he's in the Coral Cup as well. So it just depends what they go for.
Mullins gave a strong shout to, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he's actually. Yeah, East India Express was unlucky in this last year. He got there quite early, and again, I think Shark's son might be on this. Might be on him, John Hanlon.
No, it's Freddie Gordon, isn't it?
Freddie Gordon. Is he still a conditional?
Yeah, Danny Gilligan as well, and that's a kind of big thing. There's certain conditional licenses, so you're not kind of out of winners. So it's not kind of like a kind of rough and tumble kind of. Tristan Durrell, for instance, he's still run out his claim, but he's still got a conditional license, so he can still go there. So it's a really kind of specific condition race. I was on him last year. I don't think he had much excuse, to be honest. Freddie Gordon will probably keep the ride, but he maybe did it a bit too much too soon. They maybe went a bit too fast that day last year because Woodhoo came from midfield, Active Authority came from the back, even the third Rail and Road came from the back. The fourth tap in the go came from a mile back, the Henry de Bromhead horse, and even Park of Kings in fifth and Push the Button in sixth or midfield at the back. So I think he kind of rushed him up too soon, and he was kind of there to be shot at. It's one of those races where Freddie Gordon will take the ride, I think.
John Barber might be one as well. I thought he was very unlucky last time when remember Ben Paulin and Ben Jones just were like piping McCoy and everything at Ascot that day. They were just like everything they touched on to go. But I think John Barber, I think there's a good handicap in him at some point. But yeah, I mean, very, very interesting races, Callum. Before we wrap up, we will go with our best bet, a lay and an each way. What is your nap of the 2026 Cheltenham Festival?
Madara in the plate.
Okay, I'm going to go for Cest Different in the Pertemps final. What is your lay of the week?
Bambino Fever.
Okay, I'm going to go for Dr. Steinberg in the Albert Bartlett and a wee each way player.
Chemical Energy in the Hunter's Chase.
Okay, I'm going to go for Sertudo in the Turners Novices Hurdle. Mate, absolute pleasure. Thoroughly enjoyed your company. Thank you very much as always.
Yeah, no worries at all. Best of luck to anyone that's getting involved. Definitely, best way is going to play it late. You're going to get good terms, going to get better prices on the day for sure. So yeah, all in a really exciting and open festival.
We will have a show on Monday night where we'll obviously preview the opening day, and we'll do we'll look back when anti-post. I think we'll add another couple to. Well, I'll add two. You'll add one to the list. But thank you very much for joining our preview. Please subscribe to our YouTube and podcast channels and follow us on social media throughout the Cheltenham Festival for daily updates. We'll see you all soon. Thank you very much.